Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 205. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V.
That's me.
That is you, as we are...
Nobody else, just me.
No. What's that saying go?
Still the co-host.
Happy to be stuck with you?
I'm so happy to be stuck with you.
All right, that's enough of that for sure.
Wait, we can sing rap lyrics all the time, but going to happy to be stuck with you is a dead stop.
Well,
we have to appease all the different
generations,
age groups
genres.
and generations.
Yeah, that's a good
call.
Our
podcast.
Well, welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to have, I believe, a little bit of a Idlewild Open recap, and I didn't say it enough this weekend, so let me say it right now, and I'll maybe even say it a few extra times tonight. Idlewild Open was ultimately presented by the Natty Disc Golf Store along with Innova Champion Disc, and I'll be the first to say I did not recognize or acknowledge the Natty enough. Clearly, great people over there. Everybody at the Idlewild, all hands on deck. Has to be one of your favorite Disc Golf Pro Tour stops from a course perspective, a playability perspective.
From what I
read. Lots of different reasons. Our signal, so I'll say from a SmashBoxx perspective,
great.
I don't know who put in more money, and it quite frankly doesn't matter to me. I know, though, it was presented by the Natty along with Innova Disc Golf. So I did not recognize the Natty enough, and this is just something I guess I thought of later on my own. Nobody yelled at me, thankfully, but the Natty. So, and if you aren't familiar with the Natty, I'll say a landmark, a very popular hotspot. So make sure you go visit them. As they do lots of great things for the sport, especially in that area. So, as everyone says on the board, the Natty rocks. So, thank you to the Natty. Thank you to all of the gracious hosts and hard workers out there, that Adam, Jason, and everyone that was out there in any part of this weekend's event. And we'll get into more details and specifics about it in a little while. But I definitely wanted to open with that. I think, although I've all but abandoned and forgotten about timestamps until tonight, again, I think a very valid and one of a very practical and spot-on timestamp. Avery Jenkins, I believe, celebrates a birthday today, so that's a great timestamp.
You got an ace today, I saw. You got a Swedish ace. His first birthday Swedish ace. I don't know how you, in general.
Who doesn't have one of those? I mean, I'm surprised it took him 40 years. But happy
he's
birthday.
eligible for Masters. That's right.
Yep. So happy birthday, Avery.
Happy 40th. Welcome to the club.
Exactly, as he's just a few weeks older than myself. Any day now, any day. And anyone else, of course, plenty of birthdays going on these days, but Avery's one that jumped out at me on my Facebook feed. And I'm going to follow that up one step further, and this is a little bit more specific and specific yet random. I like to wish people happy birthdays. I think it's a great thing to do on Facebook. It's something I pride myself in doing quite often, and I've been slacking. So if I've missed your birthday, it wasn't personal. I've just been flat out slacking on doing it. So happy birthday, everyone in the last month, if I've missed you. Anyway, all right. I believe we're going to have Dana Vici. He's going to join us. We'll probably recap, talk a little bit, like I said, about Idlewild. Dana was on site along with his wonderful family, his two little girls, along with his very supportive and very supportive wife, Ashley. And so we'll get from him. I reached out to the Pauls. Paul Oman, Paul, I don't know, a bunch of Pauls. No, I reached out to Paul Macbeth, who I'm sure is working at the moment at the Supreme Flight Am World's Fly Mart booth. I think that's probably maybe even wrapping up soon. I know he was there. And I've also reached out to Paul Ulibari. We all know it's been far too long since we've had both of them actually join us. So maybe it'll be a race to the Pauls to see who possibly calls in first tonight that we can catch up with. And then, like I said, we'll also have Dynamite. So
we are going to have Dynamite. He's in the digital green room.
He is. He's waiting. He's lingering. He's creeping.
As always.
That's what he does. All right. Well, I think without further ado, let's bring on Dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite.
There he is, the man.
Dynamite. Hey, buddy.
About that, John. T-Dog, what's up, man? I haven't seen you since you sped by at about 100 miles an hour on, I don't know, 74 or one of those roads heading out of Cincinnati on Sunday night.
You're exactly right. After we broke down the booth, we had to get one of our cameramen, Rick, over to the airport. So I went from the booth. Again, thank you to Joe and Ray, who are our hosts over at the booth. I went over to the course. I think we were there like 6 minutes or so, just enough to throw a few things into the media box, grab my two cameramen and Chad and Rick, jumped back in the car, flew right over to the Cincinnati airport, dropped off Rick, got him there just in time. And then from there, we hit the road, and that was that. And a few hours, hour or two later, at one point, we see Dynamite and family, and we're like, psh, we gone. And we just kept on moving. You made it home safe.
Yeah,
though.
you were zipping by, man. We made it home safe too. It was a long. I was tired. 18 home Idlewild, that takes it out of a person. Ashley, 2 kids, nowhere to really take them to and all that. We had checked out of our Airbnb in the morning. She had a long day. Kids were tired. Whew, I'm glad we made it home safe, but we did. And Idlewild Open. What can I say? What an awesome course. What an amazing event.
Yeah. All those things.
I really can't believe that they pulled it off with her. I was a little skeptical. Friday was kind of a nightmare of a situation out of the course with heavy thunderstorms in and out, tornadoes, long delays, multiple delays. I didn't think we were going to go back out on the course Friday, but caught a window and made it back out for a few hours. And my card was lucky enough to be on hole 18 as the horn was blowing, and we were finishing out as the horn went off. So I did not have to come back at 7 a.m. on Saturday to finish up an up shot on 18 or finish out my round or bait my round. For those of you that didn't catch it, play was suspended, and the final card, the feature card, they roll into the round. So essentially they had to come back Saturday morning, 7 a.m., tee off on their hole, play their round, and then they back or stay, whatever, and play with the same group at the same tee time that they had on Friday. So 35 holes was the number that the feature card had to play, and I don't think I would have made it. 35 holes of Idlewild in a day, not for this old dad.
That's definitely a lot of holes in one particular day. I mean, it was nice and split up. They had a chance to relax and take a break and all that other good stuff. Hindsight being 2020, who do you think that benefited the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was thinking about that, and I benefited the younger players, kind of the ones that are haven't been out grinding as for 10, 15 years or however long. I think that the more fit players, maybe some of the players that are used to playing a lot of rounds, Macbeth, I thought maybe it would benefit him, but he kind of had some struggles there on the back half of the course. But it's that on playing a lot of holes because the back half of the course is so hard. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I think physically strong and physically strong players, I think that they could get over that hump a little bit easier. Myself, I would have been dragged. I would have been having a really difficult time hitting those tight lines on that back nine. So, do you think it?
I was thinking like, as we saw, it seemed to help out Jones. He performed very well. He's a young,
Mhm.
we'll say one of the young studs on tour in general. So your philosophy seems to hold up there. But we saw, Zach Melton perform really well, and he's not necessarily considered one of the young studs. He's getting to be
Yeah.
30. Is that what Zach is these days?
He
Yeah, I
looks
think
no more than
he's
22
right
to
around
me.
30, 31.
So
But
it's
Zach
definitely
plays a lot of-
interesting.
Plays a lot of golf. I think the people that are out there, I feel like Zach, he's always on the disc golf course. He's always playing. So I don't think that would have been too much on Zach, but he definitely excelled at, and Zach had a heck of a weekend.
He certainly did. And I believe he ultimately finished second. Is that correct? Is that what I saw?
Yep, he ultimately finished in a tie for second place with James Conrad. They were at 16 on 4 throws behind Paul Macbeth, who came on from the second card during the final round. And Nate Perkins had him a really great weekend with a strong opening and a strong final round. And that put him in 4th place at 15 R. And then MJ, Michael Johansson, and Kevin Jones finished in a tie for 5th. But yeah, Kevin Jones, man, he played some really great golf when he played on Friday and and on Saturday, and then Sunday he just didn't quite have it. I caught some of the Jomez coverage, and it looked like his putt was a little off, and then if your throws are a little off too out there, it's really tough to scramble and save par, especially if you're not putting in those 15 to 30s. And he definitely had more than a couple that were a little bit off. So
yeah, his putting was a little bit suspect towards the end there, and it's that back nine just got him. It finally. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if it was just the end of the weekend catching up to him. I don't know if it was the footsteps from Macbeth on the second card that shook him, but his last 6 holes, he went double, par, triple, birdie, bogey. And, he pars out there, and was that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? That's 7 strokes. He wins. And that's not an easy feat to par out of the back 5 or 6 or 9 at Idlewild. So that's not saying that he choked by any means. That is a tough course to play. I just wonder. I see a lot of people online comparing him to Eagle from 2 years ago. Big thrower, not necessarily having the full game yet. And people are saying, oh, maybe it's next year will be his year, the year after. But Kevin Jones is something special to watch. That's for sure.
Oh man, he's an incredible talent. That guy's got game. His forehand, so explosive, but it looks like he's barely throwing it, like no effort at all. Along with his putt, super smooth putt up and bangs him. Very quick player. I was really impressed with the Eagle for a little bit there, and now Eagle seems to have found his groove. But with that said, Eagle, Ricky, Sexton, a lot of those big names were not there at the Idlewild. A lot of great talent was there, a lot of elite players, but those really, really upper echelon weren't there, and they kind of left the door a little bit more open for Paul, and he took advantage of it. Kind of, a little bit of the Tiger effect. Everybody was probably looking behind him, and he had a huge crowd following the second card. I don't know, Terry, do you comment who had a larger following, say, on the back nine? Was it the chase card or the lead card?
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get a definitive answer or gauge of that. It seemed as if the chase card, though, had a larger following. And, whether you call it the Tiger effect or Macbeth effect or whatever. And
it wouldn't surprise me if that shifted during the round, where at the beginning of the round you see like, oh, these are the lead guys. You've got your Conrad, Melton, Johansson, and Jones or whatever it was, And then towards that second half, when that lead card wasn't necessarily performing, and Paul starts out, 8 out of 9. That first backup, I could see a lot of people going, I'm going to go follow that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has to be then thinking, oh man, should we just jump ahead? Is he going to shoot another 18 under? Like, it's funny that is now a question. Whenever you see some of these really hot scores or these really hot starts, you then have to think, oh, is he going to do that again? And that may be a once-in-a-lifetime thing that we see that kind of a score on that kind of a course that we did. And I'm certainly not counting on seeing another one necessarily in my lifetime. Not to say it can't, but people immediately have to at least think that. And, not a lot of golf, high-level golf of this level comes rolling through that part of the country all too often. So if you're here or you're out there spectating, you're like, hey, this might be the one chance I get in a year or 2 years or 5 years to see a Macbeth or someone like that in person, and they'll go follow him. So I guess my one follow-up to this whole conversation really is, and there's no better person to ask than Jones himself, of course, and he may even laugh it off or not. Do you guys feel like he had that pressure? Do you feel like he felt that? Or did he just simply not have the rounds that he had to got him there? Or did he truly feel the pressure? I think that's the ultimate question that I'd love to hear from him. And unfortunately, we don't have him here with us now, but that'd be the one question. Do you feel it was pressure, or did he just maybe have a subpar round, Dana?
I think the subpar start put pressure on him, because if you have to press on that back and try to make up the birdies that you missed on the front, then it becomes a lot harder, and then that pressure can build and build, and maybe that's the case, but again, I think this is just going to be chalked up as a learning experience for him, and he's going to get stronger, and we're going to see his name up top sooner than later.
Okay, well, here's how I'll wrap up or summarize my Kevin Jones experience for the weekend after the play. I mentioned earlier I was going from the course, or correction, I was going from the booth back to the course, 6-minute drive. I pull into the course. I'm just about to pull into the course, and I see the Pro Discus van it looked like it had just pulled out of the course's parking lot and was on back on the main road, Idlewild Road, I think. So it's pulling back out of the course. I look, but I don't recognize that Jones is driving. It doesn't look like it. I see the big RV. I think, all right, yep, they're on their way out. Rough day. Pull into the park. I drive, the equivalent of, we'll say, of a block or so. It's about 2 or 3 blocks so to speak, to get back to the full parking lot. And in that time, during a long walk from where there's the player and worker parking lot to where the other parking lot is, there's kind of a long walk. And I'm kind of just gingerly driving through there. And there I see Kevin Jones with his head down, looking at what I believe is at his phone. He's got his bag on his back, and he's looking at his phone. And I'm driving down this driveway, and I see him, and I come up to him, and I'm just going to keep going. Again, I'm in a hurry. And I kind of give him like a half wave, kind of like, and I don't know that he's going to even look up, but he does look up, and I kind of give him this half wave, like I just couldn't sympathize enough. Like he had a rough go out there for whatever the reasons were. And I thought, man, I feel so bad. I can't imagine what he feels like right now. And Kevin sees me as he looks up from his phone, and I swear it was the biggest smile from ear to ear. And I thought, that's one hell of a guy. Like, seriously, like he just had this experience that he did, which clearly was not in his favor by any stretch of the imagination. And when he looked up and he waved, he just had just the biggest grin from ear to ear. And I may never forget that. Like that is my impression of this young stud on tour. And it was pretty special. And I just may never forget that. That was quite a moment. And he probably doesn't realize it or even know it. But to me, it was a moment to have a little insight into who Kevin Jones is. And I think some of our touring players and hopefully more of the fans will learn that exact side of him, because that was pretty damn special.
I really don't know him all that well, but that sounds like Kevin Jones, like from everything that I've heard and seen, and himself, and it's nice to see. And again, I've talked about this in the past. We've got such a great group of players who are a lot of the new guard is just quality people, and they make it a lot more fun to be a disc golf fan. So shout out to Kevin, big hug. I don't think I've given a big hug in a while, but big hug. You're gonna get that pro tour or that NT, even a major, sooner than later. I got no doubt. Let's jump over to the women's side. This was a more or less a 2-horse race between Paige and Sarah. This is the first time we've seen Paige playing back in definitely a couple minutes. She was over in Europe, and then she was at the Junior Worlds in Emporia, and looks like she found her groove. Paige, she went 998, 997, 985. Kept it in the 63 rounds. Some really solid golf. Put her at 8 over par. And that was good enough for a 7th row win over Sarah, who played out. Sarah was right on her heels after 2 rounds, only down by 2 strokes. Sarah herself went 992, 991, 53. So 3 really solid rounds from both of them, and they just distanced themselves from the field. 3rd place, Rebecca Cox, played really well. 13 throws behind Sarah. And finishing in a tie for 4th place was Jace and Holly Finley, and they were even further behind. But Paige and Sarah, they just shredded. Some pretty stellar disc golf there. Is this the resurgence of Paige? We saw her come out, and it didn't. We talked for so long about, is Paige going to lose? Is she going to win every event? And she kind of had maybe an off month or so. Maybe this is the start of a new streak for Paige.
Yeah, maybe taking
taking
the break, not playing the major, going to Junior Worlds, maybe just recharging her battery, as we could say, giving her the drive again. Because I know she said that she played pretty poorly in Europe. She made a nice post about Idlewild and getting back on the tour and this and that. So I don't know if we're going to see, as some people are calling her, Rampage. I don't know if we're going to see that come back or not, or if we're going to be able to, when Kat comes back overseas, or she already is, if Kat's going to keep up with her, basically, at some of these events. Because this weekend she was, 34 strokes behind Paige. And these are the type of courses Paige loves. Paige loves the wooded courses. Some of the other women, not as much. But I think we're definitely seeing an elite level of FPO player in Paige and Sarah right now. And I feel bad, but I don't know if I can include Kat at this point. Like, Kat had a little stretch where she was back to where she was. And maybe this is an anomaly, and then there's everybody else. And I don't know what the rest of the field can do other than, I don't know, siphon her gas out of her car at one stop so she can't get there, because these 2 women are just unstoppable at this point. And they appear to be fighting back and forth, neck and neck right now between Sarah and Paige.
Yeah, and I think for a brief moment there, and Dana, maybe you could attest to it, we saw what I thought, and I think what hopefully even she thought and others thought, that Katrina was back. She had figured out the hitch, or whether it was mental or physical or a combination. We thought, okay, Katrina's clearly back. She's here hanging and beating the best of the best, and we're back on it being, you know, really a 2 or 3 woman race almost every weekend. For the longest time, you know, without trying to sound offensive, it was either Kat or Paige, it felt like. And then, you know, it seemed as if clearly Sarah put herself in that mix, and Kat fell off, and then Paige did for 2 events. It's so funny. We talk about a slump when Paige doesn't win for like 2 weeks in a row.
It was
or 3 or whatever it was.
It was like a 3 or 4 week period where she wasn't performing to what everyone expects her to perform.
But nonetheless, what I'd like to know, and I'm sure somebody could run a stat. Maybe our boy Dad's Drunk is out there listening, or he'll tune in. What's the last big event stateside that wasn't won by Kat, Paige, or Sarah? I mean, right? It's, you know, you'd probably maybe have to rewind to last year, Val taking something down possibly, but Kat, Paige, or Sarah. I guess Jessica Weiss at the Pro Tour stop in Utah last year in the playoff over Kat. That was just 5 women that dwindled to 4. For the most part, it's one of those 3 every single weekend. Now it's just a matter of where's the shift, who's got it this weekend. And here we saw it was Paige and Sarah, pretty much neck and neck. Their only difference in the first round was hole 18. They were 2 strokes apart at the end of round 1. Paige took a par, Sarah took a double bogey, so that was their only difference at the time. And then Kat in way off in a distance. I mean, you're talking 34 strokes, which we can all understand with Idlewild's woods. You can understand how that can happen, but I think we were all surprised to see it happen because I thought Kat was going to be back and dialed.
Yeah, I think we can call this one an outlier for Kat. I want to say last year at the Idlewild Open, I'm quickly scrolling to see if I could find. I feel like she also didn't have the best performance.
That kind of rings a bell, Dana.
I think
maybe that she just doesn't like the course.
Yeah, she went final round last year for an 889 rated round. That's Kat, and finished in a tie for 5th place with Rebecca Cox. So let's pivot over to Rebecca Cox. Last year at the
and just
Idlewild
real quick, sorry. We said so 34 strokes off the pace this year to Paige. Last year she finished 29 strokes off so clearly
it might just not be her style of course.
Exactly.
This might just be one of those ones where she just she goes there, she plays it, and she takes her medicine, and that's it. And
maybe just chalks it up as such. Okay, moving on. Rebecca Cox, who we love seeing out there
and
with her
on the
smiling
commentary.
Face. Yep, and on the commentary.
Yeah, Rebecca Cox. So let's look back to last year's Idlewild Open. She was 80 rated. Let's flash to this year. She finishes in 3rd place. She's already 922 rated. That's a pretty big swing for Rebecca, and she's on tour the rest of the year. Her and Kona. So I think we're going to keep seeing Rebecca's name creep up higher and higher. She's young. She's obviously got a lot of talent. She's up 4 points in a year. That's pretty darn good. The women's field is getting better. We didn't have Lisa here this last weekend. I'm going to say her last name, but kind of missed out on her. She's been another name that's emerging. Madison's up. She's over 930 now. Paige Bierkes is almost 930 rated. The women's field is getting better and better. So I'm going to see if it's going to be it's fun to watch to see if I can challenge the big 3. You know, the Paige, Sarah, and Kat. I think they're going to have those 3 are going to have their work cut out for them with the rest of the field seemingly getting better and better. But of course, their ratings are going up as well. Paige 976 right now. Fun stuff. It's good. It's a good time to be a fan of disc golf.
Speaking of the women's coverage as well, I'm going to make a quick, not so shameless plug. Of course, we're putting out the women's coverage same day, literally a couple hours after their final putt drops. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we then re-release that as a separate standalone piece, literally seconds before we went live I put out the first round of FPO footage. So that's available right now. Tomorrow, of course, round 2, and then obviously Thursday will be round 3. During our first round, we had Madison Walker and Rebecca Cox do the commentary over that first round. So that's all available. Check out the Disc Golf Guys YouTube page, and you'll be able to find it there. So it's just that one. And I'd like feedback. Real quick, I'd like feedback. I ended up putting it in a full 1-hour block or full 18-hole block as opposed to breaking it up from 9 and then creating a separate 9. I put it in a full 18-hole block, and I'm curious to know if people like that style, if it matters to them, if they like it broken up for them. That's something you can leave in the comments, but it's all out there and it's available. Plug over.
Good plug. Good plug.
Dana, will you do me a favor?
Good stuff.
Dana, will you do me a favor? Will you refresh your browser that our call is on? You're just a little clippy for some reason, and your audio seems to be like chopping broccoli, as they're saying. So hopefully we can get. We'll let Dana do that. That she should come back pretty soon. Country Disc Golf recommends replacing his wireless router, but we already replaced his wireless with a nice mesh system. I'm going to yell at it and say it's not that. So I'm going to blame his wonderful wife for downloading Netflix or something.
Somebody's doing something.
All right. So
Netflix is paused. I don't know if that screws anything up, but
I don't know
if it does. My bad. All right. Hey, there were a couple other events. I just want to look at really quickly. Open over in Elle, Sweden. Richard Wysocki, don't know if you heard of him. Shredded 1060, 1060, 1078, 1025, and a meager 1017 final rated round. But
5-round
anyways,
event.
he won by a ton. Yeah, a lot of golf. Two courses on site. I think there's more an open style course and more of a wooded style course. It looks amazing at the Disc Golf Center in Sweden again. But we saw Ricky there, Big Germ. Saw him play some really solid golf. That's a couple of weeks for Big Germ. Maybe he's getting over that hump that has kind of haunted him for most of the year. Young man named Linus Carl finished in 3rd place. He's 999 rated. He got 2 aces during the event. Both caught on film, one cell phone footage and another one of the produced versions. I can't remember what group caught that, but Germ was on his card for both of those aces. AJ Carl Johan Nybo finished in 4th with Simon Lazat and Vaino Michela, and yeah, that was a 128 person field. So pretty stacked field. Looked like a pretty awesome course, fun event that a couple of our superstars hung around for. I think Barsby was there, Owens, maybe not Barsby, but I saw Devin Owens was there as well. Anyways, on the women's side, they had a 16-player field, and Kristen Tatar played some really solid golf, well above her 909 rating all weekend to win by a bunch of throws, 16 to be exact, over Maris Perendi. So congratulations to the winners over there. How long are some of these guys going to stay in Europe? Are they coming back anytime soon? When is Ricky coming back to the States? When are we going to see him on the Pro Tour? Ledgestone?
I mean, if you can keep winning over there,
it's not a bad life.
Actually, he posted that he played and he won the Euro Tour.
Yeah,
actually, he played enough events. He played 3 Euro Tour events, and I think won them all or whatever, and got enough points to win the Euro Tour. So another notch on the belt for old Rick. Congrats. Yeah,
at least he's getting one of the tours because he's not winning the Pro Tour and he's not winning the National Tour right now.
Ouch.
Oh,
just saying.
Dang, Johnny.
He's got some work
Stateside
to do.
burn.
He's got
by
some work
Johnny.
to do.
Ooh, somewhere Ricky just woke up in the middle of the night. Well, there was another A tier here in the U.S. of A up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. City Open. This was a big money event. 35 open players. I'm sure the Idlewild event would have had a lot of these players come and play, but why come down when you can stay in your home state and play some great golf in a great city? Grand Rapids, really fun place to play. Fun city, lots of things to do. I like Michigan disc golf a lot. But anyways, we saw a lot of the Michigan pros stay there. Probably all of them. I don't even know if Michigan came down for Idlewild. But anyways, Thomas Gilbert, a name you might not have heard, from Ontario, played some really good disc golf, and he got disc golf rich. He won by 2 throws over Ziggy, who won the event last year. But Thomas won $1,849. Ziggy in second place, tied with Kyle Williams. They both brought in $1,051. I think I played with Kyle. I want to say I played with Kyle a few weeks back, and at the Shore Open. I'm pretty sure I did. He's a really solid disc golfer. He just made it into the 1,000 rated club. He's up to 1,004, but he played some good golf. And a little bit of a surprise to not see the 2 Michigan studs go 1-2, or at least be up there at the top. And that's Tim Barham and Andrew Marwade. I butchered that last name. They finished in 8th and 9th place respectively, but usually I'm too wreaking havoc on Michigan events. We did see our Willie Prince finish in 4th place. He's been on a bit of a heater since the Disc Golf Pro Tour went to Michigan. So a lot of great golf going on there right now. On the women's side, she just had a baby recently. Liz Carr, Spiden, got the victory there over Sue Stevens. So congratulations ×2 to Liz. And friend of the show, friend of the Vichy family, Shasta Chris. He's on tour. He got himself a win. He's seems like he's winning darn near every weekend. He's got a 8-tier win down in Columbia, Missouri in the open field. He's gone back-to-back weekends in the Masters field. But yeah, Shasta played some really solid golf, averaged well above his 5 rating, and got himself another win. So
he's getting himself warmed up for Masters Worlds.
Yeah, big ups to Shasta. What Masters Worlds that's pretty quick, right?
It's about 3. It's the weekend immediately or the week following Ledgestone.
Oh, it's following. For some reason I thought it was weekend right before Ledgestone. No, it's right after.
The weekend, yeah. Nope. So it's in theory starting. Some of the field events and side games and doubles and all that stuff will start on the Saturday that Ledgestone is taking place, and then it goes throughout that entire week following. So I want to say,
yeah, it should be noted, Shasta is not playing Ledgestone. Is that the? Let's see.
Interesting.
Lake Superior Open looks like.
Oh, Wisconsin event. I feel like that's the weekend before, though. When is Lake Superior?
Oh, is it the weekend before?
Yeah, I believe that's taking place on August 4th and 5th. Yes.
Right.
Which is when I'll be hosting. If you haven't signed up already, it looks like I'll be hosting the Next Gen Regional Championships taking place in Crown Point, Indiana. I see registrations keep flying in, and super excited to have everyone there. I will be tournament directing down in Crown Point, Indiana that very weekend as well. So that's also the same weekend as the junior event taking place, the United States Junior Disc Golf Championships out at Smug. So lots of stuff going on that weekend, and I wish I could be in like 9 places at once. But anyway. So interesting that Shasta is not registered, you're saying, for the Pro Masters Worlds. That is
No, he's registered for Pro Masters Worlds. He's not registered for Ledgestone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that may just probably be, I'm guessing, to get in preparation for the Pro Masters Worlds. Maybe he's playing some of the doubles and all the side games and field games and those types of things as well. So I think in the next, on another time, maybe either later tonight or maybe next week, we table it for you, Dana. We could talk about Pro Masters Worlds, as that's obviously around the corner. Who's signed up, who's not signed up, which I think is a very good question. mark right now, and we're going to see how that unfolds, at being our next PDGA major that's right around the corner. After, of course, AM Worlds, which Johnny and I will get into a little bit later.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I've got some Netflix to watch. So
What are you watching on Netflix right now, Dana?
We're watching Manhunt.
Oh,
you caught that one yet?
Manhunter, the one about the
Unabomber?
Oh no, different one. Okay, no. There was a Netflix series. Netflix series about some FBI agents that it's a fictional.
Oh,
thing.
that one's awesome too.
That was really good.
That's Mindhunter. That was great. But we're on Manhunt, which is the story of the Unabomber right now, and it's pretty interesting stuff. So,
and I'm going to give you. I'm going to give everyone a suggestion here, and you're going to laugh, but it's really good. Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling fictional thing. It's like a better version of Orange is the New Black. And I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Orange is the New Black, but this is a much better version. It's much better stories. Season 2 I'm in the middle of, and it's really good. So enjoy that. Make your wife watch it. She'll like it.
Ashley, she just told me she's watched both seasons already. I won't ever watch.
Maybe Ashley and I will start up our fan cast later.
She's in.
Woo! We have to dress up though.
Yeah. While we're on the topic, I want to publicly thank Ashley for taking care of the family while I played. Idlewild came with me. We had a really good time, and also give a shout out to Madison Walker, who helped me out on Sunday while I played with both. She helped with Edith and Lucy, and as I said, we checked out of our Airbnb, so we were kind of didn't really have too much to do. So shout out to Madison, or as Edith calls her, Cootie Kai Madison, and to my wife Ashley. Thank you. But the Idlewild Open, if you guys are ever in Cincinnati, go play Idlewild. Go check out the Natty. Go see some discs there. Adam Jones is the man. They pulled off a great event. Thank you to all the volunteers. The spotters were awesome. One quick story. We're on the number 16, which is the par 5, and it's after the rainstorm, and there's no spotter. And then all of a sudden, we're on the hole, and this spotter comes running up, and he spots our tees, and he spots our up shots, and I'm watching him spot the group behind us, and he's running. I see him just chugging down the hill, and he gets up to this disc, and he looks down and sees it's barely out of bounds, and he was so dejected that it was out of bounds. It was just, and he let out a sigh, and and run back up the hill and hold the red paddle. But it was, there's tons of great spotters like that, and ones that were super nice, and they wanted the discs to be in bounds, and wanted the players to succeed. So that was awesome to see. It was one of my favorite moments of the so thank you again to Adam. I'd say thank you to Steve Dodge, but I didn't see him over the weekend. Kind of bummed. The one pro tour I go to here. But anyways, I got to get back to this Netflix and chilling. So you guys have fun. I don't know if we're gonna. Maybe Netflix. I don't know.
Oh, Dana.
All right, Dana. No big hugs over there. No. You guys have a good night, and thanks for the insights, buddy.
Good night, Dana. They catch the Unabomber.
Later.
Yeah. All right. Of course, Dana Vici giving us his inside scoop. And I was going to tell him, but now he'll just see it tomorrow on the social medias. I think I was able to capture legitimately one Instagram type video that I was going to post from this weekend, and you'll see it tomorrow. So here's your spoiler. It's me in the Disc Golf Pro Tour trailer, and I pan over to the side, and I have to look out the back. There's Pro Tour trailer stuff everywhere, left and right. And off in the distance is Dynamite throwing his tee shot from underneath the Zuka cart truss on hole 1. And that was pretty much the only social media I really captured, so to speak. But it was a Dynamite tee off on hole 1. So look for that to get posted tomorrow. That was my view as I was sitting inside the trailer, as I know I've complained and expressed lately that I don't get to see a lot of the action in person. So I just take it in all from the trailer and shoot dynamite from a distance.
That's what you got to do.
That's what I got to do. So what is super exciting, he graciously replied on very short notice. Looks like we're going to have Paul Ulibarri. Barry. He'll be joining us here any second. He says he's ready to go. And he's going to join us, which is awesome. He's on the other side of the country. Maybe we'll get a story or update as to how and why. But I think we're going to have him dial in any moment now, and we'll be able to get some insights from him, talk a little bit about Idlewild, and then also what's right around the corner for him. And maybe one thing we could do, Johnny, while I reach out to Yuli, is we could pull up a little bit of the AM World stuff. Maybe we'll lead with that with Yuli. Oh. He's got some AM World's experience, if you know what I mean.
Well, let's wait till we get to Yuli. Let's real quickly give a little plug out to the PDGA. The PDGA sent out a survey to pretty much all the PDGA members. And I guess it's the first time they've really done this since 2011, I believe, is what I had heard. You can go out to the PDGA's website, I believe, and find it. There is a there's something on the PDGA's website, but I have a press release here saying the Professional Disc Golf Association releases Disc Golf Interest Survey. So there's the 2018 Disc Golf Interest Survey. There's a bit.ly, which I'm going to give a little tip to the PDGA. Better bit.ly links. Nobody wants to hear bit.ly 2JSFJHX. Come on, let's come up with a better bit.ly than that, people.
I just did that myself. I was impressed with myself.
I know you did. Let's do...
You're impressed with me, aren't you?
I am. I saw that you had the Idlewild one. Someone come up with bit.ly.com, YOLO 420, swag, survey, something. I don't know. But anyway, come up with a better one. Either way, if you're in it, fill out the survey. Let us know. Let the PDGA know what they're working with. It's been many, many years, and I know they help. This helps direct the a lot of the focus of the PDGA. It doesn't necessarily, it's not direct input, but it gives them a general idea of what the constituents of the PDGA really want to know. So please go out there, look for that, and figure that out for us.
Okay, your input is valuable, and as it says in there, that could be used ultimately in a formal research of some sorts, but then also be put for lots of the marketing and data and analysis and research and other fancy words I'll just spit out. But that can be really valuable. It finds out who our demographic is, what they're doing, and that in turn can then be taken to appropriate sponsors or potential sponsors.
Yeah.
And that's not the sole reason for doing it, but there's a lot of great things that can be done with that data that's collected. So go out and fill it out honestly and appropriately and go from there. I don't know if I'll fill it out 3 times, just like our PDGA board members. I get 3 of those because my 2 daughters, who are 7 and 9, they also are current. Sure. So they get a copy of this as well. I don't know if I'll fill it out on their behalf.
Let them fill it out.
Yeah, I'll let my 9. Both of them are certainly capable of doing that. So.
All right.
Let's bring in none other than Paul Ulibarri. How are we doing tonight, buddy?
What up? Everything's good, man. How are you guys?
We are good. We're good. Everyone's, well, we're back from Kentucky, but then you tell me you're on the other side of the country? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm in Seattle.
Okay.
It's been my hangout spot over the last couple months. I got a friend down here that I've been visiting and stuff, and I got a small tournament I'm playing on Sunday, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man. So it's kind of a weekend off for me.
Okay, so let's just get right back to Idlewild. I mean, we talked with Dana at length, and we talked about the challenges and the courses. We saw, we continue to see this interesting shakeup on the FPO field, and then on the MPO field, we also see Macbeth doing well. Some things that we've seen from Macbeth in the past. So let's start on the FPO side. Just give us a little insight, because my ultimate takeaway is we've had these 3 women, Sarah, Paige, and Kat, and it just seems like one of them is hot for 1 or 2 weekends at a time, and then someone else steps in. And this weekend it was Paige again.
Yeah, it's it's no surprise that Paige gets the W. You do have a few other women that it seems like they've been stepping up their game. You know, it's good to see Bajirkis out and playing well. It seems like almost every event. Rebecca Cox. Obviously, you have the big three with Katrina and Holcomb and Paige.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like one of those two or three are going to win, you know, at any given time. But yeah, you're just kind of waiting for somebody to have that breakout tournament and take them down. You know, Madison's playing very well as well. She she took, I think, Holcomb down
up here in
at
Wisconsin
the
Silver Cup. Yep.
Yeah. So she's playing well, and she won a big tournament in Missoula as well. So she's trending up. I'm excited for the majors too. You know, Evelina won the major at the Konopiste Open, and Worlds is going to be interesting. It's super wooded, and I like the course design for all these girls. So it's, you know, I'm waiting for that upset for sure. And you could say the same thing about the MPO division. I mean, it's Paul Macbeth, Ricky, and Eagle right now. Has anybody else even won this year? Well, you know, at a pro tour.
No, at any of the elite level events, I don't believe so.
Yeah, no, it's the same. So it's the same thing. I mean, you can make the argument for that as well.
Is that good or bad? Is that good or bad that right now you could put all your money on one of the three, or it being one of the three? Is that good for the sport? Is that good for the competition? What does that mean?
I honestly think it's you know, I've been doing a lot of thought about it because I study sports and I'm a big sports guy, like basketball, baseball, golf. I watch a lot of golf. And in golf right now, you see a lot of different winners. You know, you have your Dustin Johnsons and you know, Dustin Johnson, I think he's number 1 ranked right now. But he doesn't win all the time. And in disc golf, it seems like the same guys have been winning for the past 3 years. And I don't know. I think it's course design, honestly. I don't think the courses are really hard enough, because when you do get it hard enough, obviously Paul made a big comeback this weekend, but James won the year before for his first pro tour, and then Kevin Jones, you know, he was really close to closing this down. He just had to shoot a 5 under, and he just hasn't, you know, probably ever been in that position really before. But as soon as you go to a hard course like that, USCGC is a great example. Big Germ wins, then Sexton wins. You know, that course is hard enough to where it seems like anybody can win, you know? And I think, honestly, as I've been looking at it, I think that's our problem, right? It's not a problem. Obviously, they're the best in the world, but I think these courses are catering to their games to where it's easier for them to win.
I think going along with that, I think we're not seeing at some of these events that we're used to, that are staples of the tour, you're not seeing a lot of risk reward for your big throws. At Idlewild, it's there. You can try to cut off another, 30, 40, 50 feet, but in doing so, that could put you 20 feet into the shrubs, into the crap, where then you're pitching out. And Idlewild is a tight technical course, but we've seen these courses like Vegas, Konopiste, all these ones that think, and maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, that extending the course is the right move. Not necessarily.
It's really not. Yeah.
When there are some people that love to see the monster drives. Give them a 50-foot fairway and make them throw 450 feet or 500 feet or 550 feet. Personally, I don't necessarily know if that's the right move. And then give them open greens. But we've still seen that the same guys, as you know, they all filter to the top. It's not like you're going. Sure. It's not like you're suddenly going to have. We'll see what happens. You've got Maple Hill coming up. We've got Worlds coming up. I'm not sure.
I'm just saying, like when I think about course designs, and I think about the most difficult courses that we play on tour, that's where you have your different winners. Mm-hmm. Think about last year with Eureka. Josh Anthon ran away from the field. That's a hard course, man. Those guys struggle with it. USDGC, we've over the last 5 years, Macbeth snuck one of those. Ricky's never won it. Brinster's in there, Germ's in there, Sexton's in there. You look at Eureka, that Simon got his there, Josh last year. Macbeth and Ricky obviously are poking their heads in there and doing this, but I really, look at even Maple Hill. Ricky's winning that tournament, but you have Kale in there as well. You have a bunch of names that are able to compete. Barsby made a big run at it one year. It seems like Kale's always in the hunt at that tournament.
So
it's these difficult courses. I'm saying that I believe the rest of the field is good enough to compete with these guys, but I really do believe that the Pro Tour and a lot of these big tournaments are catering to that style of golf. Just bomb it, make your putt,
And putting, as we've seen inside the circle, isn't difficult for these guys.
No.
Are you kind of hinting that the more technical courses, the tighter courses, where maybe some might argue there's going to be a little bit more randomness, because you've seen it as well as any person.
Not necessarily, because USDGC is one of the fairest places you can play.
True, valid point.
You know what I mean? Eureka is one of the fairest places you can play. You throw it in bounds, you don't get penalty strokes, and then you make your putts.
Okay.
I'm saying that, not that these guys are too good. I'm saying that these course designs are being catered to big long sidearms and big long backhands, and then pitch up. I was explaining this to somebody the other day. At Kona Piste, you can throw it as far as you want, which, guess what? Those guys throw it really, really, really far.
Yeah.
And then even if it's like this, if you put me 200 foot away from a basket, and you could put whatever it is in my way, I'm going to get a look from circle's edge. I'll figure out a way to get up and down. You know what I mean? Those guys are doing that. So they're throwing it as far as they want, knowing that even if they mess up, they're probably going to get a birdie. So what does that tell you? That relieves a lot of stress off of them. The rest of the field throwing it however far they throw it, and then they have 300 feet. And if you mess up, when you're at 300 feet, guess what? It's really tough to get up and down. And this is just pure, this isn't me, like, believe me, I'm not bashing these guys in any way or anything like that. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is that the court, there's similarities here, right? The courses that are the toughest have different people in contention all the time.
Okay, and that's a very valid argument that you want to see more difficult courses. It's so hard to, yeah.
So here's one of the things that I think really hurt the pro level of disc golf. I think getting rid of the stroke and distance rule was a travesty. I think that getting rid of island holes, getting rid of the island holes, that wasn't so bad. And I think that's the exact reason why they got rid of the whole entire stroke and distance. I think they thought, okay, people are taking 20s on these island holes. Let's just get rid of the rule completely, and then we don't have to worry about it, right? To where stroke and distance is a great rule on certain holes in certain areas. You completely block off one side of the fairway, to where if you make a mistake to that side of the fairway, you have to rethrow. But then you give the option to where, like, okay, you can play safe to the left side of the fairway and then proceed up the thing, to where now your risk reward is, you don't, like, if you're accurate at a certain distance, you're going to get rewarded, but you can still play golf. You see what I mean? And that's in ball golf. That's what allows the whole entire field to stay with Dustin Johnson and those guys. You know what I mean? Not only that, but putting's really hard in golf.
Correct.
Right? Putting's easy in disc golf. Putting's easy. So where are you going to make it more difficult? People want to make a smaller basket. I don't think that's the way it is. I think you just have to make it tougher off the tee, because we're a completely different kind of sport. We're throwing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that if stroke and distance was still a thing, like you look in your Eureka and USCGC, these places still use this rule, and guess what? You find different winners. It's not.
Yeah, I think everybody. I think it's safe to say you want to punish Macbeth. You punish his aggressiveness, because look at the things he can do.
No, I don't punish his aggressiveness. I punish his aggressiveness when he messes up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the same with me.
Look at
I'm a very aggressive player.
Hole 17 in Idlewild is a great example. There's as I argue with people, there's a safe play off to the right if you want to just take a par.
There's really not.
Yeah.
That gap to the right, there's 2 guardian trees. You have to hit a 10-foot window. If you don't hit the 10-foot window, you're going out of bounds. And guess what? Hitting a 10-foot window at 250 feet is asking a lot.
I'll give you that. But
so there's no safe play. 250 foot, give me somewhere to land. I would love to have that on.
Because I watched Macbeth crush one right down the pipe, right, basically just shy of the basket, and go OB and take a circle birdie. He took a penalty birdie.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
A P3 on a par 4. I shook my head thinking that's not fair. in general,
what I'm saying
had he had to come back to a specific spot, a drop zone, a re-tee, does he approach that hole differently, knowing that, hey, I'm not just going to get the circle birdie, or at worst a par if I mess up a 25 or 35 foot putt. I think there's definitely arguments to be had.
I'm just saying I really believe that they made the game way easier by taking away what I feel like is one of the most important rules in the game of golf, period. You mess up, you rethrow, period.
Sure. I just wonder if, and I understand the purpose behind taking it away, because you run into people that will abuse the rule and make ridiculous holes.
I'm saying make it an option for the elite tournaments.
And
make it an option for the elite tournaments for us. You know what I mean? To where you have to have maybe a pro tour or national tour title in order to be able to use this rule or something, so it's not abused, so that you have these PDGA officials be able to walk the course and say, yeah, this is fine, this is a good design, we can use this. Getting rid of the rule completely, I completely disagree with that.
Okay.
Because it's such a great tool to be able to make the player think about it, and not only think about it, you're driving them away from a certain side of the fairway. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you
by any means. Sure, if you make that mistake to that side of the fairway, it's a big penalty.
Okay.
These guys aren't getting penalized. They're going out of bounds, and then they're taking it up there. Here's the thing, okay? This is legitimately a real scenario. I throw off the tee 350 foot to 400 foot very accurately, right? I'm not going to make a mistake usually in any conditions at that distance. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If let's make an 800 foot hole scenario. I throw it off the tee inbounds at 400 feet in a pretty aggressive wind, right? Now, let's put the basket on the side of a hill, which most of these are, right? Or a high elevated basket with OB to the left or OB to the right. Now I'm having to navigate my disc, which I'm going to have to throw fast into this green. I'm going to have to throw a fast disc into this green in some sort of wind and land my disc without having it skip or whatever. These other guys are able to throw it as far as they want. If they land in bounds, guess what? You have 200 feet in. 200 feet into that green. You put any of us, any single elite player at 200 feet, it doesn't matter the wind conditions, they're going to be able to get up and down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is my scenario. Now I'm at 350 feet accurately, 400 foot. And then I throw another 350 to 400 foot accurate shot into this green. I have no control over what my disc is probably going to do. Okay? So now it's bringing bogey in for me. It's not bringing bogey in for those guys. Because they're at 200 feet. Even if they go out of bounds, they're going to be able to have... And so you can say, okay, yeah, it sounds to me like you need to work on your distance. Guess what? These guys are freaks. You can't work on your distance like that. You know?
Correct. You're right there. And I don't.
And traditional golf has this same problem. This isn't just me just, being like, okay, yeah, penalize the best players in the world, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they're on fire, guess what? They're going to win by more with these other rules. But if they're off a little bit, just like if I'm off a little bit, you let the rest of the field in who's playing well.
I personally am, as far as stroking distance, I think that it's a tool that should be available to events. What I don't love to see, particularly, I hate the random rules on different holes on the same course, like we do see sometimes at Ledgestone or USDGC, or it's like, oh no, this one has a hazard. If you land in it, you don't go back. No, this one, if you land in there, you have to go back to this drop zone. This one, you land in there, it's an extra stroke penalty because we painted it purple.
And you have to throw with your opposite hand.
And you have to throw with your opposite hand. Like, that bothers me because I see it as a hurdle for new people that are watching to understand, and it makes it more difficult without a legend or a key in my lower right-hand corner of my screen so I can figure out what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
All right, Yuli. Well, let's bring this full circle and ask maybe something that's pointed in specific.
I think, one more thing. It was Germ won in Waco. He was the other winner.
Yeah.
Very difficult course. And then Nate Doss won the year before in Vermont, another very difficult course. So it's what I'm saying.
So you're saying the Pro Tour has a bunch of difficult courses is what I hear.
Yeah. I'm saying the harder the course, other people are competing. What is it, Brewster Ridge? Mm-hmm. That place has a lot of out of bounds, right? Everywhere. That is that the wide open one?
No. You're thinking of the Fox Run Meadows. I'll screw that up more times, but yeah, Brewster Ridge has less OB and is more tight and wooded.
What were you going to say?
Okay,
Terry?
so here's my question, and this might help. This may help. I don't know. I guess depends on what you give me. Let's relate what you're talking about. Possibly, if you have a good example, let's relate it to this last weekend. Is there a hole or a situation at Idlewild where you look at it and you're like, you know what? If this rule or this OB or whatever or combination of what you're suggesting, where if we just applied that, this would make for a better hole or a situation. Is there any that happen to jump out? I know that's kind of putting you on the spot with one, and by and large, a lot of people like that course. But is there any particular hole out there where you're like, you know what, that would really drive my point home?
Sure, hole one.
Okay.
Put the out of bounds on the right or the out of bounds on the left, to where if you get aggressive and you go out of bounds, you're just re-teeing or something, or it puts you at a drop zone that guarantees you have to have a really tough shot to save for, or you know what I mean. Like that's a prime example. Like if you throw, Kevin Jones threw an 80 feet pass, Macbeth threw it like 80 feet pass. They're having 80-footer jump putts. Like I birdied it every round, obviously, because it's a fairly easy hole.
Yeah.
But you make that hole more difficult. It just puts that little bit in your mind to where you're like, okay, I can't make this mistake. Guess what? You're prone to throw it completely right then into the bushes and the bunker trees.
Well,
and now you're having a tough approach.
Now, to be fair, I think of hole one, and I think of hole one, and you could, in theory, right now, throw it 320 feet, practically nowhere near the fairway, throw it another 320 feet, and then be underneath the basket still taking a birdie. That's what you could have done, or I could have done, or whatever.
Right, now, that's what I did.
Paul Macbeth and Kevin Jones lace the fairway and just happen to go 60 or 80 feet past it, but they're still like dead on line with the fairway. Neither of them shanked it way off. So I guess my question is, granted, there wasn't OB when it was thrown, but
I guarantee they think about it a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe that's all it
100,
takes.
and that's all that I'm saying. Just it just brings that into their mind to where they make a mistake like that. Anybody makes a mistake like that, it just funnels them to a landing zone, right? And then it forces you to throw a certain shot. And that's what I want the whole field to be doing, is being forced to throw a certain shot. And if you don't complete that shot, and if you go for more, obviously you're going to get rewarded. But if you shank it going for more, you're going to get big time penalized, right? I want the whole entire field to have to throw the same shot almost, right?
Which is interesting, because conversely, some would say golf is tee to pin, and however the F you want to get from one to the other, that's on you.
Not at the high level. No,
that's your creativity. That's your skill sets. You want to throw backhand roller to 500 feet, or you want to throw a forehand or a tomahawk or an overhand to 250 feet. However you get from tee to pin is your business.
We're talking about the elite level at the very high tournaments I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about, little courses where you're throwing over the trees and things like that. Like, we're talking about the best players on the planet playing the best courses in the world.
And
you're not going to be seeing these pro guys aren't going to be throwing the wrong shot on any hole. Like, they are going to throw the right shot on that hole that's put there for them. Which won't be a thumber, and it won't be, you know what I mean?
I think you run into a small problem right now, in that I like your idea and I like your suggestion, but let me tell you, we still have 900, 920, 940 rated players playing these events. And you want to cause, as someone's joking around, you want to cause a 5, a 6 hour round?
We had an 8 hour round this weekend on this course. What are you talking about?
Well,
we had a 4 hour round, 4.5 hour round. The last day it was like 3.5, 4 hours. Like, that's what happens in golf.
I'm just saying,
at the highest level, when you have the toughest courses on the planet, I don't care if they're 900 or whatever, you're gonna have backups.
Okay. So here's how I'm gonna move on from it. But my last question then related to these would be, if I'm understanding you correctly, and hopefully this relates to a lot of people that follow along. Holes 10 at USDGC, which has the tennis courts to the right traditionally. Holes 10 at USDGC, and the bridge hole at Ledgestone, where you throw through the bridge. You can either go all the way for the pin, or you can lay up to the zone. I feel like those two holes, by design and by challenge, are nearly identical. Of course, different distances. If I understand you correctly, you are suggesting that lots, that more holes kind of have those types of scenarios. Is that a fair assessment, or am I off?
I was thinking of more of the par 5 at Eureka. Even though this last year it wasn't stroke and distance, the year before it was. That's an amazing hole.
Okay, the one that used to have...
you to throw. It forces you to certain landing spots, and if your miss is there, you're getting penalized big time.
You're saying the 900 foot,
the big dog leg, right?
Like, you see what I mean? That forces you to throw a certain shot. It forces the whole field to throw whatever their best shot is, 350 feet. Sure.
Okay.
I don't necessarily like the bridge hole at Eureka.
Okay.
Because I'm not a big fan of island type holes, but I am a big fan of risk reward, stroke and distance, things like that. As long as you give somebody a play to where they can lay up,
which is exactly what I feel like that bridge hole does. You can gun perfectly straight 350 and get right to the pin.
I was thinking when it was stroke and distance.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking you can gun 350 straight to the pin, or you can throw through the bridge and lay up.
The change on that hole was awesome.
Okay, all right. Well, Yuli's Course Design 101 follow-up podcast to come on another
but that's
day.
The thing. It's not my course design. People do it already, and all I'm saying is, when you look at the trend of these courses, these tough courses, you don't see the same guys winning every single time. Okay, you don't see it at the It's the same thing with like what is it, the Masters Cup? If you were to obviously Macbeth runs away from that tournament, it seems like every year.
7 out of the last 8, but yeah, or something like that.
But the rounds that he's putting together there are insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's, you said it earlier. Is he just a freak? I mean, you can't
at
make
that
particular course.
At that particular location, he is.
I'm just saying, like, it's not going to stop these guys. It's just going to make it to where when they're not playing good and the rest of the field is playing good, they're going to get beat. And right now, that the courses don't allow that to happen because of the distance, and they don't get penalized for throwing bad shots. I see it all the time.
Or they scramble really well. That's another way to look at it.
Just like I said, it's when they go out of bounds and I'm throwing it inbounds, I bring in bogey by throwing it inbounds, right? By throwing where they want you to throw, I bring in bogey, they don't bring in bogey. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
So I throw it inbounds, and then I'm throwing a fast disc into that green. If I mess up from there, which is essentially, I'm not making a bigger mistake than they already made off the tee, right? I'm missing by smaller amounts to the green. Does that make sense to you guys?
It makes sense what you're saying, but the flip side of the coin, as the board would say, some people may say, well, it sounds like you're complaining that you don't have the distance that they do. And you cannot design for every single distance.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the course designs, there has to be a way to where when everybody throws the correct shot, I'm saying that a lot of these courses, the greens are so to where when you're throwing a shot into that green, it's random. Like you're going to roll out, you're going to skip out. You see what I mean? When you're at 200 feet, there's no randomness. So they're making the same mistake I'm making. They're just taking par. Does that make sense?
Because they threw it further off the tee but got penalized.
But they only have 200 feet in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand. I just don't know if I totally agree. And that's where we can agree to disagree. I understand what you're saying.
But there's no way. I don't understand where your argument is then, because the courses that do that, you have different people winning the tournament.
But when you look at an Anthon, who I think I referenced this the other week, when Anthon or when someone's on, OBs don't matter. Take them all out of play. When Paul you could have had 6-foot fairways.
Nobody's going. When Paul Macbeth and Ricky and Eagle are playing good, nobody's going to beat them on any course.
Yeah, you could have had 6-foot fairways in Michigan. Macbeth would have landed at the 3-foot mark.
When these guys are playing bad, when these guys are throwing bad shots, they're not getting penalized. And on the courses where they throw bad shots and they get penalized, they're getting beat.
I'm going to be interested to see how the sport develops over the next 10 years when we see a lot more younger players come in and they are competing with their distance. The
proof is in the results, guys. I'm not making these things up. Like, just look at the tournaments.
I agree. I am just curious to see what happens to the sport when you have 8 people or 10 or 15 people that can throw like Kevin Jones and Eagle and Simon and Paul and, that are able to, put that extra distance. Because I think that's where, for better or worse, that's what people see, and that's the direction a lot of the sport seems to be moving.
I told you guys on the last time that I was on that after Macbeth threw the 18 under, we were going to see a lot more things like that. And then Eagle goes 16 under, legitimately the next weekend.
I was
holes.
I was rooting for him not to go 18 because we had that discussion about how we won't see an 18.
Though. The course, exactly like I was saying, the courses are too easy for the distance, man. The proof is in the finishes, dude.
Well, the Finnish do throw far as well.
The Finnish throw far, yeah. I mean, yeah, you could say, yeah, that's a valid discussion point, and I don't think there's, there's no definitive answer.
Okay, so then what course isn't hard enough? Is Idlewild not hard enough that Paul Macbeth can not get punished? Like, what courses?
No, he was off, and he shot a barely 1,000 rated round when he was off. When he's on, he shot a 1060 round. But when he was off, he got beat by 10 shots, dude.
So what courses aren't tough enough? What courses don't suit your discussion?
Let's say Vegas. Vegas isn't hard enough until it gets windy.
Okay.
Memorial's not hard enough.
Is Utah?
Beaver State Fling, not hard enough. Utah's tough. If it gets windy, if it's calm, no.
And what makes Utah? And I'm only playing devil's advocate because Utah has the least amount of trees of the entire tour.
No, once it's windy,
Utah has less trees than Fountain.
Okay.
Yeah, when it's windy, it bottlenecks you down, and then when you throw it far, all these guys are chucking it in the water.
Okay. All right. Well, you're right. All we can do is keep watching the numbers. And someone to have at some point would be Chuck Kennedy, who's actively chiming in from time to time here on the board. I would love, from a course design, you have your elite level player perspective. I'd love to have a Chuck Kennedy course designer perspective as well.
I understand the devil's advocate of what I'm saying, and all those, and everybody out there being. It sounds whatever it sounds like for me. Believe me, I think I can beat these guys any single time when I go out there and play. Like, I have to believe that. But I also have to believe that these courses, a lot of them are outdated, and then because the rule got changed to where you can't use stroke and distance, the only way these guys are able to design these courses to challenge everybody is distance, dude. You see these courses getting bigger, right? The courses are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is the solution not bigger courses? But I know you said it was too easy, but
no, I like the bigger courses, but I'm saying if you're going to make them bigger, you still have to make these out of bounds. You know, you have to make it, because these courses are wide open, man. You get these people in the trees, and like I said, when they're forced to throw a certain shot, when they're off just like anybody. But on a big, wide open course, the game's too easy. It's really easy to throw a hyzer with a high-speed disc that you know is not going to flip. There's no mistake to be made.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I just think of a course like Fountain Hills, where you can. For a righty, a lot of it's a hyzer fest, but your hyzer.
As soon as it gets windy, the course completely changes. But
agreed.
But when it's calm, we're throwing lawn darts into the place. When it's calm, everybody eats the place for lunch.
The hyzer fest runs into a little bit of issue, considering almost every pin on the front 11 or 10.
See, that's not true, because
is right next to the water.
So good right now, Johnny. Everybody is so good that when it's calm, hyzers are really easy, and everybody shreds that course. That's why, half the field's shooting in the 40s. And then when it's a little bit windy, what do we see? 40s is a good score.
Okay. Well, for what it's worth, Chuck Kennedy says, I agree with Yuli that courses need to be tougher, but stroke and distance is not the answer. So that's just another perspective. And we can move on from that. Yuli, obviously, is one of the most traveled and experienced golfers on the planet. All of this conversation aside, AM Worlds started today, and it started with a thunderstorm or some rain and some accidents actually on the interstates. Hopefully everyone's okay. Not golfers, but in the accidents. But there were, apparently rain just shuts down places in the South. But things were delayed a little bit. Some people had 2 rounds today. Fly Mart tonight. All of the AM World's madness. Is there anything that you look at? Is there anything that you think about, maybe even, recollect from your short amateur career? What are you thinking as this week comes upon you?
Yeah, I made a post like I do every year for everybody from AM Worlds, because that was pretty much what sparked my career and kind of forced me to tour and keep pushing and things like that. But when you're an AM, you don't care about weather, dude. You're just out there playing. Like, you don't care about any of that stuff. I remember I was out there, it was raining in Tulsa, and I had like basketball shorts on and a t-shirt. I was pumped just to be there playing, you know, and I know that's how a lot of these kids are. So I don't think they're really worried about the weather as much. In my post, I think I said something along the lines of, you know, you don't have to be the favorite. You don't have to be the best. You just have to try your hardest, give it 100%, and then see where you land. Because when I was there at Am Worlds, there was a lot of great players, and nobody knew who I was. There wasn't anybody who knew who I was. You know, you had Nico there, Ian Hoovey, a lot of these amateurs that had already won tournaments, and I came out of nowhere, and, you know, I just somehow managed to make a few putts at the right time, and I took it down. So I just want to relay that message to all the amateurs. You don't have to be high rated. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You know, a lot of amateur world champions that have come out. You know, I can think of, like, offhand, Steven Jacobs. You know, he won it one year, and he was one of the favorites. Wiggins was the favorite, but then you have people like Jake Laputka. You know, I don't think a lot of people knew who he was, and he took it down. So, yeah, just try your hardest and see where you land.
All right. Well, I think we're going to real quickly, Johnny, you saw some of the scores come in.
Yeah, we're looking at some of the first 2 rounds have been played, and right now the favorite is in the lead by 2 strokes. I say the favorite because he is the highest rated player there, Luke Humphreys. He is a 998 rated advanced player. He is winning by currently 2 strokes over 3 other gentlemen, Stephen Walters, Aaron Frunt, and Brian Jenkins. They're all at 15 right now. Adam McJunkin, that's a great name.
Tight race.
McJunkin is at 14.
That's Ricky's cousin who doesn't play well. Oh, that's McJunkin.
Oh, jeez.
That's McJunkin.
That's the worst joke. Come on.
Funny.
Zach Hayes, Andrew Cornwell, Kyle Opfer, and Cameron Bennick are all at 14. So it is a 3-stroke or a 3-throw separation between 1st and 10th right now. So it is still
Awesome.
it's still very close. These again, me personally, I'm always rooting against the favorite. So I'm sorry, Luke. I got no problems with you if you win. Congratulations. But I always like to see an underdog, someone that isn't the favorite.
That isn't the highest rated.
That isn't
player.
the highest rated player. The one, you know, I'm for me, amateur. I would love to believe that it's like a true amateur that wins, as opposed to someone who's been playing open for a year or 2 and turning down cash, wanting that big win. I always tend to root against that person because I think Am Worlds it's a great accomplishment, but being a pro is a cashing pro is a bigger accomplishment than even Am Worlds.
That's silly, but okay.
I'm hey.
That's fine. Yeah, I like you. I like that you think that way.
So you're
for good discussions.
You're an amateur champion.
Yeah.
Do you have an issue with someone who's been turning down cash for 3 years trying to win Am Worlds?
I want them to do that. I want people. I don't want people to just move up into open when they're not ready, because I think that they're pretty much going to be destroyed by the open field. I think just like any sport, you know, you need to train and then
I don't disagree
when
with
you're ready to come up and just win a lot, you know, win a lot before. I think people should win a lot more before they move up to pro.
I don't disagree with that, and I'm going to pick on Luke here a little bit. Luke, I have nothing personal. He's 998. He's almost 1,000 rated. He has been winning open events and turning down cash. He's been winning advanced tournaments for a few years, and he's a younger player. He's only been playing for, I think, 4 or 5 years, but he moved up.
How old is he?
I don't know offhand. I don't know if it says in his profile.
A lot of these players, too, Johnny, you got to understand, like Isaac McDonald and Anthony Barilla. We're talking about teenagers, like 15-year-old 1,000-rated players that have no place sometimes playing in the open division when you're that young, you know?
And I've got no, like I said, I don't want Luke to call me later or call me out, because I've got no problem with him. If he wins, again, you still have to shoot the best score of the week. I like, again, it's a little fantasy world. I like to think that amateur is truly amateur, not someone that has been winning, who has, 13 career wins under his belt, and they're not amateur wins. necessarily. He's finished very well in some
Sounds
open
like
events
he's
and turned out cash.
sounds like he's trained himself to maybe
He
take down the
has.
amateur world championship.
He has, and if that's and again, he's playing by the rules. This is what our sport allows us to do. I've got no issue with that, with how it is.
Whatever sport allows you to do.
The sport allows us. I just root for a more of an actual amateur to always win. That's my perspective. Someone like you were, right? Not the favorite. You weren't the Nico. Just saying.
No, but I struggled in the Open right after I won Am Worlds for, I had to definitely pay my dues, and
everybody should.
I kind of.
Yeah.
You. I don't think you should. I don't think I was at the time. I don't think I was good enough to move up. I think I moved up too quick. That was my only advanced win.
Mm-hmm. And this is really funny considering some of your history. Do you have an issue if someone wins Am Worlds playing Am Worlds again?
Do I have it? I have an issue with it if they go play pro afterwards.
Okay, and then step back.
Mm-hmm. I have no issue if they want to stay amateur and go win amateur worlds again. No, I don't.
All right, and I know a lot. I don't know where I stand on that, to be honest. I know a lot of people would disagree with you, but
sure.
But
Tiger Woods won the amateur worlds like 5 times or 4 times or something, and now he's one of the greatest players of all time. I think that, So
yeah, I mean, we have a mentality in our sport that when you win, you move up, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think
and that comes from back in the day, pros wanting to make money and making people move up.
Of course, but we also now have a rating system that kind of gives a general. It's a relatively accurate assessment of about where you stand. He's about 1,000 rated player, which means he's not going to cash at Beaver State in general, because you need to be 1,015 or 1,020, or at least shoot that way. But you put him at most A tiers, and he's going to be 10th, 12th, somewhere around there in the open field, probably, if you look at it. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that.
You look at somebody like maybe Anthony Barilla, who won for a long time, and now he competes at a very high level already in the open division. I think that, he's a great example of somebody who didn't move up too fast and won a lot of amateur tournaments and proved that he was, good enough. And then right away, he was competing at big tournaments. You see him at the Beaver State playing. He doesn't come out that often, but when he does, he's competing at a very, very high level, Yeah.
I mean, I've heard different arguments about Am Worlds, about trying to keep it truly Am and not allowing people over 970 in. And I've heard arguments that, it shouldn't matter how many events you win, or if you've even cashed in open, that you should be able to accept cash in open and play amateur event in the same year. But
yeah, I don't believe in that. I think an amateur is somebody who doesn't play for cash.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, I have read a few arguments online. Go figure. So it's there's a lot of people on the internet.
I think the internet has all the answers,
and they do. And not all of them are smart.
Just Google it.
Just Google it.
I'd love for the day when you'll be able to ask Alexa or Google and say, "Hey Google, when should I go pro in disc golf?" and get something that resembles like a legitimate answer. That would be pretty funny.
Stay in school. Stay in school, kids.
Yeah. So they're participating this week. Am World still has more of a mentality, and maybe you kind of just hinted to it, has more of a mentality of you're playing a little bit more golf, quote unquote marathon golf. You may be playing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different courses, whatever the situation is this year. I don't know off the top of my head. As opposed to what we see, the shift to at Pro Worlds or some of our big events, which may be trimmed down to as few as 1 or 2 courses. Do you feel that that's the right move? Is Am World still kind of that experience? Is that how you should look into it first? Is hey, I get to meet and play with people from all around the country and all around the world, and I get to go play 5 new courses that I may never play again or otherwise have the chance to play?
No, I think it needs to be consistent across the board from amateur all the way to the pro. I think that um, tournament should be 4 rounds, tee times. That's the way that I feel. I feel like it's more structured that way, and it obviously it's a long ways from getting to that point. But yeah, I think also as far as an athlete, like that's a lot of wear and tear on your body to play that many courses, that many rounds in a week, and I don't think you're just supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, they're young, whatever.
No, not all of them.
I know, I
not
joke.
all of them.
Yeah. No, but that's my opinion. I don't know. I think that one of my biggest problems, especially now that I'm getting older, is I really enjoy these round tournaments. 2 rounds really puts a wear and tear on my body, and it's like, I can feel it.
I'll follow that up then and say there was a lot of criticism or conversation this weekend that took place as you know, many of the players were halted on Friday. They had to come out, and we'll use Macbeth and his card as an example. They had 17 holes to play at 7 a.m. Then they had that 4 or 5 hour break, and then they ultimately went back out at 3:15, 3:30. A lot of people were saying, what the hell? Come on. You guys are professional athletes. 2 rounds should be no big deal. You go out and play a B tier every weekend, and it's 2 rounds. I had my own responses to these people, but how would you respond when someone says, come on, no big deal? So what? You got to play 2 rounds.
People are, there's been a lot of research done now from like pitchers in the MLB, right? And they're making it to where they're only pitching a certain amount per game. They're counting their pitches so that they don't hurt themselves, because you're prone to hurt yourself after a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
We're throwing 50 to 60 shots in a round, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask us to do it again. That's getting our pitch count up, and you're more prone to injury. And that's not just on our arm. That's on our legs. We're every single time pounding our leg and our knee into these concrete tee pads most of the time. Like, that's wear and tear on your body. So like, sometimes we're a brand new sport. You need to look to other sports and what those athletes have gone through in their lives or in their careers, and use some of that. And I truly believe that too much is too much on your body, like, especially for somebody like me who plays 40-something tournaments a year. I'm feeling it now, for sure. And you can say, yeah, you're 29 and young, but when you play 430 tournaments in 10 years, I can feel it. And if those were 1-round tournaments, you know what I mean, or 1-round-a-day tournaments, I wouldn't be feeling like this. So I think this is definitely a test that we can use and make it better for the next generation. You always have to try to get better, and not just as far as that stuff goes. I mean, we got to protect our athletes in the game.
Well, if you just threw it further, you'd have easier pitch-ups, as you talked about earlier.
Maybe if you were throwing this number of times Macbeth, you could do 2.
Ouch. Ouch.
I didn't
it's a
actually
ratings burn somewhere.
Yeah, it's a rate somewhere. How it's a ratings burn. I actually didn't mind the 2 rounds. I wasn't throwing.
You sat here
only because it was needed for this particular event. And I
don't mind it.
I wouldn't want to see it regularly, especially on, because we've said a lot of times our courses are way longer than they were in the 90s. Our players are throwing harder. It's rough around their bodies. The one round events per day makes sense for this style of event. I know a lot of people on the board are saying, well, gosh, every B tier is a two round thing, but those B tier events usually are on courses that are about like 6,500 feet at most.
Sure. Yeah.
So
you're throwing 50 shots at 250 foot, like big whoopie to do.
And to be, I'll say, taking a little devil's advocate, if you were saying, let's look at other sports, pitchers have a pitch count usually in the 90s. They can throw about 90 pitches, but they also sit and warm up, and they don't throw as hard as they can a lot of times. They also sit and warm up for a good 20, 30, 40, 50 pitches out in the dugout. So
no, for sure. But see, I'm saying, like,
but again, that's just obviously
advocate. we're only throwing 18 times off the tee, and then 18 times after that on your second shots, but most of the time you're throwing almost as hard as you can until you're putting and things like that. So my pitch count's way lower because I'm not making every putt like those other guys. But no, I'm just saying, like, it's just wear and tear, you know?
Yep. No, I'm with you. I think we do need to take care of our athletes. We need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on them so that we can improve things for future generations. I'm 100% with you there, Yuli.
Yep.
Yuli, what was the one thing, and I know you've probably attended some since your big win and all, but what was the one thing outside of the golf that got you excited about an AM or a Pro Worlds week? Yeah, extracurriculars, maybe it's some of the other contests, maybe it's simply hanging out in the host hotel. What are some of the things that players should really be, the fly mart's going on tonight. Personally, that's always was kind of one of my favorites to walk around, but what are some of the things that you look forward to at a World's atmosphere?
Yeah, the games, all the games, like the putting contest. I enjoy watching the distance showcase. Yeah, just the whole feel of everybody there. I do like that about Worlds, and I think the one thing that I missed the most, which I didn't think I would, was the final nine.
Mm.
I think that the final nine they added another round this year, and I don't think that was the answer. I think the final nine is what everybody's missing. I think that's unique to disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
And I last year I was thinking about it and I was like, man, this just didn't feel like Worlds, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was because we weren't playing 20 courses in 5 days. I really do believe, I thought there's no final nine, there was no final nine. There wasn't a huge gallery of every single person that played in the tournament watching the 4 elite players at that tournament, and that showcases them. It was like, oh, we're done with the round. Ricky's the champion. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I think that needs to be brought back, the final nine for the Worlds, but I definitely don't think it should be for all the tournaments. I think it should be a Worlds thing, and that's it. Like, if you make the Worlds final nine, if you're in the top 4 after regulation, you get into the final 9 for Worlds and the Worlds only. Because I don't like it at other tournaments. I just think that for some reason that was kind of like a world championship thing.
I completely agree.
It was a nice showcase. It was unique to our sport.
Yeah, and sometimes people, of course, it felt like you could be really particular to the given year. Oh, Macbeth's got a 9-stroke lead. This is going to be a boring walk in the park for him. Or as a spectator, this is going to be a boring, victory lap, as opposed to when it's been really close with some players. Or look at, what went down in Portland when, ultimately the semifinals, then they go into the final 9, and then it carries on past that. So you never know what you're going to get ahead of time. But I feel like the other people will say, yeah, the final 9 is either a waste or we don't need it. And you don't do that in ball golf or wherever else. And that's one of the main times I'll say, we don't need to follow someone else in this case. I'm good with us being unique. I think all 3 of us agree. The final 9 at the World Championships, and maybe we're just all a little bit more old school, but that was a thing. Like, you made the final 9 at the Worlds, and like you said, that guarantees a gallery, and that guarantees all eyes are on that. And when you don't have it, you're missing out on it.
Yeah, there was always that feeling, that final 9 feeling that everybody got.
Yep.
When you, especially, I'm sure when you were playing in it, but even as a spectator, being able
and
to
it was
watch
like
that.
It was like a career moment,
Mhm.
Like,
for sure.
Everybody wants to make the final 9 at the World Championships. Like, that's something that, like,
Mhm.
it was a legitimate thing,
And it used to be the only time videos were made. Believe it or not, kids, VHS tapes were sold at the end of the year, and a lot of times they'd have highlights from throughout the week, and then there was the final 9. And I have the VHSs and the video and the DVDs that show just that. That was a big deal.
And this past weekend at Idlewild, I think, had a really good example of what we might run into at some point, where, guess what? The second card is in and the winner's picked. That last card felt like watching them finish out felt worthless.
Yeah.
And I felt like
I did the commentary on the Jomez coverage, and it was a little bit weird, trying to do the commentary, knowing what Paul was doing and trying not to spoil it for Central Coast and things like that. Like, it was a little bizarre.
Yeah,
but that's just part of the game.
And I get it. Like, golf has that where maybe someone off the second or third card will win, and they'll be sitting in the clubhouse, and they'll have this cool, like, they'll watch and wait and what happens.
Yeah,
but there was no chance for the first card to catch him.
No.
Like, with 3
he was
holes
like 8 down after 9 holes.
Yeah, with like 3 holes to go, it was pretty well decided. Like, they had 3 holes left, and it's like, okay, unless Paul does something bonkers, he wins.
Yeah.
And even 17 couldn't slow him down. But
Sure.
And I worry that that's something we're going to see possibly at a Worlds, where it's going to feel empty when you're done, kind of the way Idlewild did for I think for a little bit of the viewers.
That's what it was for me. Last year at Worlds was I was like, man, it was over, and I was like, there's just something missing.
Yep.
There was something missing from it. But yeah, that used to be my favorite part of Worlds, was just knowing that the Final 9 was going to happen, and I was going to be able to either be in the Final 9 or watch the Final 9. It was really fun.
Yeah, there's been some magical moments that take place, and that is one thing we're going to miss out on for sure.
I hope they go. I hope it changes. I don't think anything's set in stone. It is for this year. I'm saying for future years, I'm hoping maybe we can readdress it.
Would 4, before we move on from final, we're going to have the Final 9 here we had them for the juniors. We're going to have them for the AM Worlds. I think Pro Masters Worlds will have it, so that's kind of funny. All of those are still doing it. Would 4 plus a Final 9 be the right amount for you
Yeah.
Or would it be 5 plus a Final 9? 4 rounds plus the final.
4 plus the Final 9.
Okay.
4.
I could get on board with that idea.
I could buy that.
Anything else you want to share with us, Yuli? You got to get going?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a buddy of mine who just passed away a couple days ago. Huge inspiration in my life. His name was Tim Cox. He showed me the game of disc golf, at a really early age, and unknowingly transform my life into what it is now and who you guys know me as. Super tough loss for me and his family. I just wanted to, mention his name and just say, that he'll be super missed by me and a lot of people. And if you pray out there, if you believe in good karma, whatever it is that you do, if you could send some good vibes to him, to my my good friend and his family, I'd be much appreciated, and they would obviously too, because the influence that he had on a lot of people, not just me. He helped put in one of the first disc golf courses where I was from, and he kind of got out of the sport for a long time. I'm still best friends with his son, and yeah, so that was a tough thing. For sure.
Well, certainly, and I know I said it to you on Facebook after I saw the news. Obviously, a huge impact and influence on you, and he was clearly a stand-up and fine gentleman. For him to have the influence that he did on you, as you're reflected within him, and that's really just meant as a compliment to you both. And sorry to hear that, pal.
Yeah, man. We played up. I went back the beginning of the year, and I played. Out of nowhere, he wanted to play around, and he was going through it. He ended up, he had brain cancer, so it definitely wore him down. But even, he was going through a tough time, and he wanted to play, and we got a full round in of disc golf, on our home course. It's kind of a shorter course, but even that last round that I got to play with him, he was super funny and charismatic and just full of life and everything, and that's how. He's always going to be remembered for me as just that person. And I remember thinking during the round, even during that round, just thinking to myself, man, this guy, he doesn't even understand. This is my whole entire life, and it's because of you. It's because of what he showed me, and he gave me my first disc. I remember is a funny story. I'll share the story, and then I want to leave him before I get a little bit teared up. But he gave me a tie-dye beast at my first ever tournament. I've been playing 2 months is all. and he gave me a brand new disc to play with. And I ended up getting into a playoff with Sarah Lang and in the recreational division. And sitting on it, we went to a playoff. I had about a 40-footer, and it was super windy. And I thought to myself, I'm going to use this tie-dye beast, because it's brand new.
Yeah, so it flies better.
That was my thought process. Like, I'm going to use this because it's my newest one. Like, obviously, it's the best one for it. 40-footer and a crosswind, and I ended up making it and telling him about it, and he just started laughing, man. I'm like, it was sweet. Like, he's like, are you serious? You putted it from 40 feet? I'm like, yeah, man, thank you so much. Without this disc, I would have never been able to win.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And sorry, Sarah. We know you're out there. Sorry, Sarah. You got beat. All right, Yuli. Well, again, yeah, thoughts and vibes and prayers and all that stuff, and the good karma and everything else. Johnny and I have those, similar influences. Lots of great people, and the lesson is go out and thank and appreciate each and every one of those people that have all of that influence. And it doesn't have to just be disc golf, but all of the influences in your life. Make sure they know how much you appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate your time as always, and look forward to seeing you more. I think we'll probably be seeing you the next couple of weeks at somewhere, wherever the next stop is. Ledgestone, and then some.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, you. Have a good night. See ya. All righty, Paul Ulibarri joining us tonight, giving us lots of interesting insights.
A couple of things I wanted to touch on regarding that real quick. It felt really crass. I'm glad I waited till Yuli was off. Yuli made a post yesterday, or maybe it was today. He's got some signature discs out there. So I know Prodigy is taking care of him. So if you get the chance out on Yuli Store, I think it's ulistore.com, go out and support Yuli. Obviously, he's one of the better guys. We've got a lot of good guys, but one of the better ones out here in disc golf. He's really well loved. So go and support him. I don't even want to say, it might be a PA3 putter, but 350 maybe, something like that.
4 trillion series.
So please go out and help support you and support Yuli. And I did not want to step away from our AM Worlds coverage without giving some of the advanced women a little bit of time. Sure. We did cover the advanced men because the advanced women's field is super tight. We've got
56 of them. Let me just start there. 56 of them, which is awesome. I'm not sure how that ranks in terms of records, but it seems like a lot.
There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie for 8th. So what? 14th place is +8. First place +6. So our top 14 players are within 2 strokes of each other after 1 round.
Yep, they played just 1 today.
So we're going to see them probably play 2 tomorrow if that's traditional AM World style. Right now, Valerie, how do you pronounce that?
Is it Mundahando?
It is Mundahando. Okay. Valerie is in the lead, tied with Sammy Jo Guerrero and Allison Haggett. So congratulations there at 6 over. We got a 4-way tie for 4th, which is Ashley Baridier, then Alexis Manduano, then Deanne Donaldson, and Alicia Cox. So those are all people that are tied for 1 stroke out of the lead. There's a lot more. 56 women. So congratulations right now to all of the competitors. I wish you the best of luck for all of you. I think it's going to be a fun week, and hopefully you're going to be out there. So you're leaving tomorrow.
Yes. So
and going to get some coverage of. I don't know if you're going to do shot by shot. I think you're going to do kind of
whatever's happening in the hotel. That's what I'm
That's
covering.
Awesome.
Yep.
The mini competition
live from the AM World's hotel room. This is all I'm giving you.
The mini competition.
No. So what I want to say real quickly is, late tomorrow night, I'll be flying out, heading straight down to Charlotte. Super excited to get down there, check out the action. I'll probably hit the ground running sometime Thursday, mid-afternoon. I think right now it's scheduled for, 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. rounds. So I'll more than likely find myself on a course at the 2 p.m. round. The plan right now, in speaking with Marty over at the PDGA, is probably going to be similar to what I did at the Junior Worlds, which is get a mixture, some highlights, some random shots and footage from around the course, not necessarily just focused on any one group. Of course, I'll try and catch up with a lead card of whatever division I'm running into, but just a lot of different stuff. Hopefully get a lot of exposure for a lot of different players out there. I'll likely be doing somewhat of that format for Thursday, and then Friday, probably some form, maybe of, depending on how the scores are shaking out, of shot-by-shot semifinal action come Saturday, as much as I hate 8 a.m. tea times because I'm a night owl. And then Saturday afternoon right now, and here's a little bit of a call-out. If you are not in the final nines of any kind, and if you are average to above average in working a decent camcorder, I might have a big hug for you along with a camera to hand to you. That's not as creepy as it sounds, but in all seriousness, I'm going to bring both of my good cameras, and what I'd really love to do is capture all of the final 9 on the women's side, and then capture all of the final 9 on the men's side, hopefully with throw and catch in both situations. And I'm excited for their finals. They have kind of an, I'll say, like, they have an infield, I'll call it a party zone, maybe that's not their official terms, but an infield area, and then play actually happens all around the outside of the roped area. So you really have kind of like a spectator area in the center. Imagine an Oreo, maybe, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. A Reese's Peanut Butter Cup in the center, that's where all the goodness is, and then around the fringe, all where the chocolate ripples are, that's where the golf takes place. So you can just kind of rotate yourself around that Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh, you guys should be liking this. So you rotate around the edge of that Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and that's where all the play will be taking place. So it sounds like a really unique format. There's stuff out there on the PDGA's website for the details, but that's where the final 9s will be going down. So that's kind of my plan. Again, if you're average to above average and can work for maybe a beverage and a and a Smashbox shirt or something, or a Tear Bear disc or some other goodies, let me know. But that's the plan right now. I want to try and do my best to get as much of that final 9 shot-by-shot coverage as we can. So that's the plan. And by all means, if I see any or all of you, make sure you say hi and hang out. There may or may not be some bonus stuff taking place during the nighttime hours that's related to disc golf media. But
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Either way, I'm excited to be there. I'm not going to count right now because I don't, but I've been to a lot of worlds. I mean, I've been to the ones that I've played in, but then including the AM worlds that I've been part of in some capacity since around since the mid-90s. I've been to a lot of them, and I still get excited to go to them. And the Junior Worlds was equally as awesome a few weeks ago. And then Pro Masters Worlds. And then we go to, just think.
Everywhere.
I think it was June or July of 2000, you had Pro Am and Junior Worlds all 1 week, one place in Michigan, for example. Fast forward 18 years, you have 4 separate world championships taking place over 4 separate weeks. It's just pretty incredible. So
it really is.
All right. Checking in on the board. I sent you a message.
I responded.
Oh, okay. So I think what we can do is we also, one of our disc golf celebrities who I think we met 4 years ago to the day while she was playing at AM Worlds, and while we were out there as SmashBoxxTV volunteering our services to bring you live AM Worlds coverage, we're in Minnesota, which, mind you, is at that time I was, I think, working the camera and doing commentary while live.
Oh yeah,
all from the Minnesota AM Worlds in 2014. Sarah Lamberson, I think we're going to reach out. She may join us, and we'll just catch up on with her a little bit. I know she's doing our PDGA podcast, and maybe she can be our featured guest, our headliner. I love it. Our headliner for the after show. She said she's caught a second wind, and we can check in with her for a few minutes tonight, and then we'll go through the rest of the details on the board. Sound like a plan? You like it? You love it? You
want some more of it?
All right, there you have it. All right, we'll check in with her. As I said, she'll headline our after show. So for everyone at the Idlewild Open, presented by the Natty and Innova Disc Golf, thank you guys. It was a great week. The Pro Tour, all of the Pro Tour staff that just goes out there and kicks butt every single weekend. When I'm talking about Seth and Patrick and Danielle and just everyone out there from the Pro Tour that also shows up and does what they do, and then our Smashbox crew and the post-production crews, and then of course the local organizing committee, just all hands on deck, and we're super gracious for it. And Joe and Ray and Dixon Jowers, it's great. So for Johnny V and all of those people and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast 205. Stick around. We're going to give away some free stuff. We'll check in with Sarah Lamberson in the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 205 After Show. We're here, and tonight we're going to have a very special, timely guest in Sarah Lamberson. There's always, you don't need reasons to talk to Sarah, so to speak. She's a wonderful and delightful soul that I'm excited to catch up with, but I thought it was interesting in thinking back to one of her posts from the last day or two, in that her playing the Idlewild Open this weekend was, I believe, in fact, her first Disc Golf Pro Tour event. And as someone who plays quite a bit of weekends, but doesn't necessarily travel to play in some of our bigger events until later on in the year, I was excited to see what she had to say. She's got plenty of good insight from the FPO field and beyond. And like I said, very appropriate as we met her 4 years ago to the day. So I think we're going to be able to have her on in just a second. And it looks like, just like that, like I just snap fingers and things happen. We're going to welcome her to the show, Sarah Lamberson.
Well, before we do that, it sounds like we're getting an echo. I don't know if that's...
she'll get it all figured out.
All right.
Maybe. All right.
Okay.
Just my dogs. Sarah, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Welcome.
I'm in bed if you can't tell.
That's not creepy or weird.
Like,
no, we're good.
Half asleep. Okay.
It's all right.
Well, thank you for joining us. And, we're here in the midst of AM Worlds Week, which obviously just took place and got started today down there in North Carolina. And, but also, this was your first ever Disc Golf Pro Tour event this last weekend. Did I see that correctly?
Yeah. I'm actually astonished myself that I haven't made it out to one, because Jonesboro is only about 4.5 hours from me. But this was Cincinnati's about 4 hours, so it was a pretty quick trip.
Okay. So we know that you play in a number of events, but you don't necessarily get to travel too far. I think your job kind of keeps you a little bit closer to home week in and week out. What was your experience like?
I had an awesome time. Like, it was probably the best experience I could have asked for. I got there, so I work remotely, so I have a little bit of flexibility. So I was able to get there Wednesday night, and drive straight to the course and play my first practice round. And immediately I was impressed because there was water out on Wednesday and the event didn't start till Friday. Every 3 holes, they had all the little tents set up. I didn't really, I've watched this course on camera for a couple of years now, and I could tell that it was brutal, but I really had no idea what was in store for me. The elevation change, you can't even tell half of what it's like on camera. So I was just very impressed. I was happy that there was water out there. The guys from Natty just absolutely killed it. FPO was lucky enough not to have to deal with any of the inclement weather, really. I feel bad that the guys had to deal with most of it, but I think we played about 8 or 9 holes on Friday in the rain. And then the other 2 days were pretty clear for us. But yeah, all the tee times were on time. Communication was great. They sent out, the player books were great, but they also sent out an email, I think the night before, just clarifying some things. So yeah, overall, just super professional. And I immediately got home, was like trying to see if I could make it out to any other Disc Golf Pro Tour events this year, and I don't think I can.
Okay. We did talk about your schedule. You're kind of from that the Northeast or the East Coast-ish, Philadelphia area originally?
Originally Philadelphia, but lived outside of Pittsburgh for a couple of years while I went to school, and then lived in Columbia, South Carolina for 4 years before I moved to Nashville. And I've been here for 3 years now.
Okay. So we know that you're planning, or you had told me at least, maybe not everyone knew, but you're planning on Worlds up at Smugs,
Yep.
Delaware, again, kind of a little bit of a homecoming for you up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to have to make sure we see you on the 2019 Disc Golf Pro Tour calendar a little bit more often.
I hope so. I'd love to get out to Jonesboro because, like I said, that's pretty close. But I actually didn't start my season this year until May, which is pretty late. I mean, that's 6 months into the year, but I run that big mixed doubles event in April, and I'm just doing a ton of planning and sponsorship outreach and that kind of stuff for the first few months. And it gets pretty cold in Nashville, believe it or not. So okay, fine. I'm talking to you.
Come on. I
it gets mild. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
It gets mild in Nashville.
I don't know about cold.
We get like 1 snow or ice over per year. I don't know. So I don't know. I try to stay inside a little bit, and I also do ballet and some like boot camp and boxing and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
those are like my off-season activities.
You're very well-rounded, very cultured, some would say. I saw you were putting out cover songs for a while with a guitar and yourself. I haven't seen one recently.
Go get the guitar. We're ready.
Yeah.
Now we're ready.
Can you do something? Can you do something Tori Amos? That's what I was listening to a little earlier, one of her first albums. You think you could throw something like that out for me?
I could possibly do that. Yeah,
Okay.
That's like a wintertime thing for me. So between November and May, I was really back into my music. I'll start I've got my Lambo ties, small business, so I'll start doing those again when the disc golf season slows down. But I don't know. I'm really looking to do, sorry, my dogs are sneezing. I'm really hoping to play some NTs that I wouldn't normally have gotten to. So perhaps Vegas or GBO. Just kind of depends. Sean and I are actually going to Africa in December. So I'm trying to hoard a lot of my PTO at work, and we're going to be in Paris for a few days, and then Kenya for about 8 days, and then Dublin for a night. So trying to balance all of that as well.
Yeah, I wish you would just get out and live life a little bit. I mean, it seems a little reclusive there. So
Very sheltered. Very sheltered.
exactly, very sheltered. So I think one of the last times we caught up with you, we talked a little bit about your involvement, or maybe a lot. It's been a while. Give us a quick refresh on where things are with the podcast you do. Tell everybody.
Yeah, it's going really well. It's definitely an art, and you guys have mastered it. I don't think I am there yet, but
Some would disagree, but okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve Hill is super great to work with. He's really professional. He will call himself a professional BSer. So he can just like talk about anything, knowing maybe one percentage of information about it and talk about it for an hour. And I'm not so good at that. But yeah, everything is pretty well researched, and I feel like I'm getting more comfortable talking with him. I haven't seen him since Worlds last year, and we maybe said, "Hey, what's up?" and that was it in passing. So it's kind of cool that we've built such a cool rapport, just talking on the phone every week. And I'm really enjoying it, getting some good feedback. I heard the Macbeth family listens in every week. So them, and then the Bjerkes family also said that they were liking it. So
good.
I love to hear the positive feedback, but I would also love to hear the critiques as well if anyone has them. Be nice, though.
All right. Well, let me just no. No, I think honestly, I listen for the most part every week, and I think you guys are doing a really good job. I think that things are. I love that. I've said it before that I think no matter what you're looking for in the disc golf community, there is a podcast or multiple ones for you. And and I love how we're expanding media wise in general, and I think you guys do a really good job there. So
yeah, when you said words like research, I was like, well, that's not us.
No,
so
we let other people do that.
Yeah, exactly. You guys can give everyone, in case they don't listen, give everyone kind of a breakdown of what they could expect if they tune in next week.
Yeah, so we just recorded today. We either record Mondays or Tuesday nights and usually put it out Tuesday or Wednesdays. Just kind of depends on our travel schedule. But we do a recap of the latest big pro event, and then we'll do a preview of the next one coming up. This week we just did the recap of Idlewild, and we have an interview with Paul Macbeth, and we've got another interview with I can't remember his name now, but he is the videographer of the history of disc golf in North Carolina. The video that was just shown at the players meeting at Am Worlds.
Yeah, last night.
So we're doing so we're doing a preview of that event. This is Otis.
Hey, Otis.
And then we do something that's kind of cool is the hot rounds. So Steve Gans will pull all the data from the PDGA event side of the website, and we can see what the hottest rounds were in any event this past weekend, MPO and FPO. So we do a rundown of that. We do sometimes this week in disc golf history. Sorry, my dogs are they're trying to get under the covers. This week, well, I won't spoil it, but this week, Steve and I both had some little anniversaries. As you mentioned, I met Sean this week 4 years ago at Am World, so that was pretty cool. And then he has a big anniversary this week as well. And then we're doing another fun thing called the PDGA Radio Challenge, which is we're asking people to do some sort of thing and then take a video or picture and post it on Instagram and do the hashtag, and then we'll pick a random person at the end of the month to get a prize. And this month we've only had one person do it so far, and it's make a jump putt and then do some sort of celebratory dance afterward. So the first guy set the bar pretty high, like he's doing front handsprings.
Oh, okay.
So
nice.
You win. I think I heard that a week or two ago when you guys posted that, and I think you ruined it. I don't think anyone's gonna be like, well, I can beat front handsprings. You got to keep that on the down low and get more input, and then let people know.
Let them down softly.
Don't ever be afraid to tell Steve to shut up either. He likes to talk, and just every once in a while, just yell at him and be like, "Hey, this is my show." That's what I tell Terry. So
yeah, exactly.
I think we lost her.
I think we did too. She's at least frozen here momentarily,
and at least it's in a flattering face. We've had some freezes where the people look a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we can get her back. What I have seen. Okay, looks like we'll try and see if we can get her back. And maybe the dogs were trying to take over. That would be my guess.
Could be.
Meanwhile, real quickly, one of the questions coming in off the board is people are asking about the Scott Stokely history podcast that you've been assisting with on Wednesday nights that's on a little bit of a, not quite a hiatus. He's just taking a break because he's traveling.
He went on vacation and did some other
Who takes vacations?
Blue Power events. And so he said that August 1st, it would be coming back.
Okay.
And I'm honestly, with a show like that, where it's not really that time pressing, so to speak, I kind of like having a couple solid weeks and maybe a couple week break, and then do like 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, and then take a 2 or 3 week break. It doesn't have to be, 52 in a row. So, but yes, August 1st, he says he will be coming back. So,
okay. Well, Sarah said she wasn't sure what happened. Everything just blacked out, even though it's plugged in. So we'll see if we can get her back.
If she wants to call and
I
come
told
back,
her just
to
dial back in. So, but yes, of course, Sarah Lamberson is who we were speaking with, who just completed her first Disc Golf Pro Tour event. So that to me is also, that says a lot in that this is her first event. She's clearly talked about them and known about them, and now she's had the opportunity to play in them, to go play in one, to actually get to one. And I know a friend of hers, a good friend of hers, in Kelly Tucker, goes to a lot of them and travels around and plays quite a bit. So for her to have all these accolades, and of course the Pro Tour can't take all of those compliments, as Idlewild and the crew there and the Natty, were ultimately the hosts, but it still, I think, says a lot that she had such a good experience, and I think we'll have her. Looks like we'll have her back with us now. So, Sarah, I was just saying, it's too bad that it took you that long to be able to participate in your first Pro Tour event, and of course, the Pro Tour is the overall scoping tour, and the Natty and Innova and everyone hosted the actual event, and they knocked it out of the park. But what are your overall impressions of the Pro Tour in what it's trying to accomplish, and the FPO coverage and those types of things? I think FPO coverage, I bring that up because it might maybe interest you a little bit more. But what are some of your overall impressions of your experience?
I mean, I think it's just from an outside view before going into this weekend, I thought it was very well run. The FPO coverage is wonderful. I heard that was Danielle Charlier's kind of baby, to run the SD card back and forth and do all the production stuff on the front end, and then do the live commentary. I think that's amazing, especially for me, because that's part of my research for the PDGA podcast is kind of having the FPO insights. And without that, it would be really difficult for me to try to figure out really what's going on. Just depending on the UDisc stats, which I found out this past weekend. I love UDisc. I think it's great, but there's definitely I parked one hole and I got a 0%. So I was a little bit upset about that.
Let's get Matt and Josh on the line.
Definitely.
Get them.
Well, so that's what it is. Anyway, I won't go off on that tangent, but I don't know. I love it. I like that they're in a lot of different unique locations. I'm really interested in the San Francisco open course. I'll be out in San Francisco in November for a conference, and I'm hoping I can get someone to play it with me, because it doesn't sound like it's in the safest neighborhood. But it's just, I love what you guys are doing, what you and Dixon are doing. Do you feel like you are as an effective commentator not being on the course?
No, short answers. Well, in some ways I feel like I can be a little better, and in some ways I certainly feel like I can be a little worse, or I'm at a disadvantage. I will readily admit, I feel like I'm a little less effective than I could be overall. And I know this might sound like a whiny excuse, and I'm not trying to make it that way. My brain is somewhat fried by the time we go live. And I only say that because I arrive at the course and we start shooting at, let's just say, 9 a.m. By 9:15, I see that first FPO, those first 2 holes or so. Yeah. And knowing that I'm on a timeline that everything's screwed up for the day, if I don't have from 9:15 till essentially this week, like 1:15, my brain is 100% focused on getting that footage, putting it in the right spots, labeling it, backing it up, getting it edited, and then getting it ready along with the graphics and everything else. And then sometimes if we're running short on time, I have to then get in a car, drive somewhere, and then finish editing, sit down our 2 women commentators, make sure they kind of know what the drill is if they haven't done it before. Make sure all the technology is up and running for them at our booth location. And then sometimes I have to sit back down and then edit, holes 16 through 18 like I did this weekend. And then, like, we have about a 10-minute break where it's like the women are done, Dixon's show comes on, and then I sit back down in that same seat, and we start the show. And by that time, and again, I'm not trying to sound like a complainer, but by that time, I am sometimes just mentally fried. So when I say even dumber than usual things, that's exactly why.
And it was
let people good insight into what is actually going on behind the scenes. I mean, it's so easy to sit on Facebook or YouTube and complain about X, Y, and Z. I mean, people who don't do production work have no idea what all goes into that. So the fact that you guys are able to do it and pull it off and make it look so effortless is awesome, and I commend you for that. So
thank you.
I really appreciate that part of it.
Yeah, so to answer you, though, in terms of am I at a disadvantage, I like that we have stats, really at our fingertips, thanks to UDisc. I like that I have a very knowledgeable and insightful co-commentator, so whether I had to get up and go to the bathroom or just zone out for a minute or whatever, I know Dixon knows what he's talking about, and I've been very blessed with a number of co-commentators. I like that we have, Johnny V, who can switch to certain things and help tell the story, and that goes along with Gary, who presses all the buttons to give you the graphics. For me to be able to say, it looks like Macbeth is charging from the second card, and then Gary takes that audible cue and then pulls up a Macbeth scorecard. That's part of the teamwork that goes into it, and for those reasons, I think we're getting more and more refined and dialed in and focused. But sometimes when I'm just kind of rambling, it's like I don't know what I was where. Blah.
I was hoping, and I never know who's coming in for FPO literally until they sit down. Usually, I was hoping I was going to get to see you do some live coverage for FPO.
I mean, I could have done it, but Terry didn't ask me. It's okay though.
Well,
you or Danielle.
Well, and to be fair, Danielle, I don't want to say I've pushed it off, but we've, I think, kind of unofficially assigned Danielle helps line up the women commentators week in and week out, and of course that's part of the I'll say the fun and challenge. We want to continue. I think we need to get every single FPO that has any interest in doing it, get them to sit down and at least attempt it. And if they say they hate it, that's fine. If they never want to do it again, or maybe they want to be, hey, put me in for once every weekend. That's all part of the learning curve. So that goes to Danielle, just find, and I think we're going to find anywhere from 1 to 6 women that are great at it and love it and, want to be part of it every single time. We may get to a point where someone may, say, hey, maybe I'm not interested in playing this weekend, but I wouldn't mind sitting in for all 3 rounds and being part of the commentary team. So there's a lot of work in progress that I'm really excited about as we hone it and dial it all in.
Yeah, it is. I will say I think it is pretty exciting. I mean, Paige being able to commentate her super hot round on Sunday is more exciting than like me sitting there not, I wasn't on her card, sadly, and me trying to speculate about what was going through her mind. So I think it is really exciting for viewers when the people that are playing on the lead card are commentating. So any opportunity that you have for that is awesome.
Yeah,
so I really enjoy that.
And I'll go as far as saying, and this isn't in any way malicious, but I think back to a few weeks ago, we were in Utah, which was presented by Prodigy, and not that we have to, of course, just toe like sponsorship lines here, but it seemed like a natural time for Katrina to possibly step in and have her first go at the live commentary. I know she's done it with in some other post stuff. And we let her think on it, obviously, and she got back to us and she said, I'm not really feeling it. I'm going to pass this time, which, of course, first and foremost, all FPO play is the top concern, their individual performance. And if they can help us, that's a bonus to us and a bonus to the tour. But as I said, we're going to keep just working with teams and individuals and see where it makes sense. But
have you lined somebody up before their round? Like, hey, are you committing to doing this? And then they have a horrible round and don't want to do it anymore?
That hasn't happened yet. The closest we've gotten to that, and I'll give her a little bit of a hard time, but she's such a sweetheart. Ellen Widboom, I think, kind of unofficially agreed with Danielle at one point, and then I think maybe there was just a little lapse in communication, and then Ellen was nowhere to be found in Utah on her turn. And do you know where she was?
Where?
She went out and grabbed a UDisc phone and did UDisc for a men's round. And it's like, you can't be mad at that. You know?
She's the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, we've never had that situation. And hopefully we don't, but we haven't had that situation. But if we did, it would also be understandable.
Yeah. And something that you asked me, I was thinking about this, that you asked me in the interview a couple months ago before I started on PDGA Radio, is how I'll toe the line between player and media person.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely came into play this weekend because Steve was like, oh, you're going to be surrounded by all these top players. How about you? Because we sometimes do pro tips. He'll record over the phone with somebody. And he was like, oh, it'd be great if you could get some pro tips. And I was totally willing to do it. Tee times make it a little bit more challenging because you're showing up to and leaving the course at totally different times than a lot of the players, especially the men players. And before and after my round, all I wanted to do was just focus on my playing. And I said this to you, Terry, like, I'm a player first and a media person second. And Steve is the opposite. He's a media person first, and he just became a PDGA member and doesn't play tournaments. So he's obviously, that kind of takes the back burner for him. And I was totally ready to get pro tips. And then after that course is just so mentally grueling, it was the last thing I wanted to do. And I didn't want to stick around the course for a moment more because it was pouring rain. I just wanted to like go back to the place that I was staying, get changed, and just, just deflate for the rest of the day. So, and I think I told him, like, yeah, when I'm playing in these big events, it's probably not going to be my priority to get tips from other players. I will say that I've got the Macbeths staying with us for the Music City Open in a couple weeks here in Nashville. So I'll probably hit them up for some tips, and there's a lot of big players coming through. So I might have some extra time, but yeah, it is a little bit weird because I'm like, I see someone that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm like, I wonder if they listen to the show, and I wonder if I've said anything like weird.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Well, and we're in I've always said this because, of course, we've been, believe it or not, there's been people that have challenged us or yelled at us, but some people have said, we don't go hard enough in, a certain line of questioning, or we may not get into, serious enough topics from time to time, or we dance around, whatever the case might be. And I've always said we're in a really unique situation. All of disc golf media, for the most part, is we see these people, we know them on a personal level, and we see them week in and week out. I think of the ESPN talking heads that may literally never meet LeBron James once in their life, in person. They may see him often, but they may not. And so if they want to talk openly and freely about whatever they want regarding LeBron James, there's a little more of a disconnect. And for us, it's not that like, oh, we need that hard-hitting journalism and, you got to, be so rude and ruthless or frank or whatever the case might be. But I still see these people every single weekend at one point or another.
Well, it's just the pure accessibility of this sport in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that anyone can walk up to Ricky and Paul on any given day and they're not surrounded by bodyguards and they'll sign an autograph. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is it's a weird feeling for sure, but I'm still a competitor. I got first place. I talked about this on the podcast. I was very proud of myself. I got first place in Circle 1 putts for this whole weekend. So I'm like very proud of that.
Dang.
And I shot over my rating on average, and I'm feeling really strong. I've got a great coach. So yeah.
And not to sour your grapes, but were you just a stroke or spot out of cash? Is that what we saw, or were you inside of the UDIS thing cuts off on us?
No, so Kat got last cash in 8th place, and then there was a 2-way tie for 9th, and then Ellen and I tied for 11th.
Okay.
That gap is where there's normally an ad.
Okay.
So I was 1 stroke out of 9th.
Okay.
And then there was like 6 or 7 strokes between Kat and 9th place. So yeah.
So
that'll be nice.
What's your take on what we saw from specifically, we'll say the 2 that really pulled out ahead of everyone else? What's your take of Sarah and Paige this weekend as opposed to the rest of the field that they kind of left behind?
Yeah. Well, like I talked about on the podcast, it's just amazing to me that Paige was able to play 3 clean rounds on that course. You guys have both played the course before, I'm assuming, right?
I've never played it. I've just seen it on camera a few times.
Yeah. Well, the video does not do it justice. Like a gap that looks like I can't show you with my hands on my screen, but a gap that may look like 30 feet wide on camera is actually like 15 feet wide. And the elevation change is just so much worse. So the fact that she was able to stay so consistent is amazing. She just stayed completely clean. I think her ratings were 998, 997, and 985. So right around par was like 1,000 rated. And it was interesting on the commentary. Is it hole 8 that goes? You're throwing over OB and there's a drop zone.
That's 7.
7, okay, and you're going up the hill through the tiny gap that's like 150 feet away. Yeah.
Yep, that's 7.
So it was very interesting because that gap is tiny and you're trying to hit it from about 150 feet away. You're throwing it over OB and you're trying to throw it up the hill. It's insane. It just takes so much accuracy. But every person in my group, all 3 days, their goal was to hit that gap, and nobody thought anything of it. Well, when I listened to Paige on the commentary, it surprised me because we know her as a pretty aggressive player. She said, "Oh, all I do is just lay my putter up to that drop zone and don't even contend with the OB, and then I just try to throw my next shot right up the gut." And nobody on my card had even considered doing that. So it sounded like to me that she was playing safer golf than normal, which I think was really smart. So I'm just amazed.
I think she has to on a course like that to compete with Hokum, because if not, Hokum will play and pick that course apart. With her sidearm. And if it's one thing we've seen in the past, it's how well Sarah Hokum plays in wooded courses. And I think if Paige gets too aggressive, that's when Sarah could strike and take one from Paige. But if Paige plays smart, I don't know if anyone can beat her. Honestly, Paige tends to beat herself if she loses. If she can play smart, Paige is going to be crazy unstoppable.
I mean, she already is. She said a couple weeks ago that her putting was really suffering, and she felt strong this past weekend. But what people don't understand that haven't played that course, they assume that it's a very long course, and so a bomber thrower like Paige is going to do well, and that's not the case. Like, this course is pure placement. So the fact that she was able to control her shots, play safely, and get over some of her putting woes was just very, very impressive. And then Hokum her backhand is really strong now. And some holes do favor a forehand thrower if you can get far enough. A lot of those holes, I think, are just like throw straight to the corner or throw straight to a landing zone and then you can turn right or whatever. But the fact that she can just design shots, forehand or backhand, through the woods like she can, Hokum, I don't know. I think she's probably I don't want to say it, but she's probably up there in like the second best in the world right now.
Wow.
I think I kind of said that earlier today. Yeah, during the podcast that right now it's Sarah and Paige.
Yeah.
And there's not the other women, just they're not quite there yet.
Well, and yeah, and I think to your point, Sarah has been able to dissect courses and lines so accurately, even if the shot goes from right to left. You know, I mean, you think, okay, that's maybe the natural backhand shot, and she has limited range in that right now, and still somewhat limited comfort in that. But if a shot's going from right to left, she is not afraid to, get something that turns over and can get it to stall out or fade out, as opposed to cut roll or something like that. She's really she's got a lot of that forehand is just so versatile for her because she throws it more and more accurately than anyone else out there. So,
and I want to set something straight. Blue Boy out there is saying like Evelina overseas. I think right now it's hard to compare the women that are over in Europe because they don't compete as much against these women that we see week in and week out. Yeah. They might be just as good as a Sarah or maybe a Paige. I don't even know if I can put them up by Paige as a Sarah Hokum or a Katrina Allen when she's on and things like that. But it's hard to say that either of them are second best or third best in the world until they truly compete on a week-to-week basis with the women over here that are doing it all the time. So it's tough. But yeah, the women over in Europe are a force to be reckoned with. I would just like to see it more.
I know. I wish she was coming. I don't think Evelina signed up for Worlds, and Kristen Tatar isn't either. So
yeah, which is too bad, and that's where I would echo that same thought.
Especially with Worlds being on the East Coast, it's not as far
like
of a flight.
3 hours. Yeah,
it's 3 hours less than having to go all the way to the West Coast.
But it's still up in Vermont, which is not easy typically
to
access. Anyway.
Well, the thing about Sarah, real quick, is she doesn't take any big numbers. Like her scrambling is really good, and she can. It seems like if she has a bad hole, she gets over it quickly, and it doesn't like spiral out of control. So that's another thing that I've just kind of recognized this past season with her. But
it shows in her putt. Her putting is that style too.
She's not going to blow past.
You will never watch Sarah Holcomb blow past a basket. Where on occasion you'll see Paige miss a long putt and be 25, have to hit a 25 or 30-foot comeback putt because Paige gets aggressive on greens at times. Sarah, it's up and it's down. If it's in, great. If not, it's probably sitting under the basket.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we'll see. My last question on all of it would be, the heated topic came about last year, and it's still playing out this year. The shorter tees for a number of holes, and I'll be the first to admit I don't know the exact count of them out at Idlewild, how many of those tees were shorter, but just as an overall premise, how does that strike you? How did that play out for you this weekend, for instance, and what do you think of it?
So it was just 2 holes. It was 4 and 5.
Oh, that's it.
4 being, yeah. So 4, the men throw over the pond, hitting the fairway on the right, and then they have to contend with the OB path on the right. And our tee is between the pond and the path.
Yep.
So it's definitely, the hole is definitely reachable, but a little bit intimidating because to reach it, you've got to throw a big hyzer shot over OB, and then the fairway sloping left toward the pond. I think I saw 1 birdie all 3 days, maybe 2 birdies all 3 days on my cards. And then the next hole, I heard that they made it. So I didn't play this event last year, obviously, and I heard that they shortened that tee for the women because women were just laying up and taking their 4, and more women were kind of running it down the hill. And this was a very intimidating hole because you're teeing off from this like open grassy knoll into the woods, and the zigzagging creek that's OB is off to the left, sort of off to the left, and then going in front of you in front of the basket. And then there's pretty thick woods off to the right. So if you hyzer out, you're going OB. If you anhyzer too much, then you're going into the woods and you don't have a shot. I think I might have gone like 4, 4, 5 on that hole or something. But honestly, I feel like there could have been more short tees. I would say there were about 6 holes that were total tweeners for us. And even for the men, I don't remember some of the stats right now, but there are some holes that were par 3s that the men weren't even consistently getting pars on. And they were averaging like 0.5 or 1 stroke over par. So like, what was it?
13.
Hole,
13.
Yeah,
The
13 is
Y tree?
one. Yes, that was one that we talked about. What is it? Hole 6?
Yeah, that's the one where you throw from out of the gap.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, going back out. Which, quick side note, Paige birdied it the first day.
Oh my gosh,
Katrina birdied it the second day. Which to me, I'm watching that as I'm editing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is this is awesome.
So that's one of those holes that doesn't look that hard, but I took a 3. I 3'd it day 1 and 2, and was super, because that was one of those holes that I was like, if I take a 4, I won't be upset. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that I was able to get out of the gap far enough and have a good approach shot and take a 3. The last day I messed it up and took a 4, but yeah, I think on my card, at least the first day, I was 1 or 2 people to get the 3. So that's a big tweener hole. So there's a lot of holes out there that I feel like could still be shortened up for the women. Because I'm not sure I'd call it a hard par 4 either. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I shot 49 over par, I'm not sure when the last time I shot that much over par in any event would be. And not that I'm like the golden rule of the whole FPO division, but I mean, I finished pretty much in the middle, so you could call me like an average FPO player in that particular division, and shooting almost 50 over par kind of says something about the course, also the conditions, and a lot of OB. So I'm totally for shortening holes that make sense to be shortened for the women.
Okay, fair enough. And again, another day for another conversation. There's I think something to be said about, and ultimately low score always wins, and I will always, you know, default to that comment. However, there is something to be said about someone that we're trying to get interested in the sport, or someone that's maybe spectating it from afar, that sees, okay, so the last cash spot at this professional tournament, or this in the women's division at a professional tournament, the last cashing score was a plus 42 or whatever. Like, that just kind of might ring a little weird to some when you look at it purely from a marketing standpoint. And we don't need to compare golf and ball golf all day, but there is something that can be a little odd about that. And so I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, from that mindset.
Yeah. It's odd on the men's side too, when they're shooting 40 under par. I mean, like
exactly.
Paul McBeth is, you know, Wysocki, Macbeth, all the top 10 players, I wouldn't expect any less from them. But if a middle of the road MPO player is shooting like 30 under par for an event, then I mean, maybe the pars are out of whack, or the course needs to be adjusted, lengths, that sort of stuff. But
yeah, I mean, rewind to obviously Great Lakes Open, and that 18 under has turned into actually be a marketing asset in some ways with ESPN. But, you know, for Macbeth to go 11 under, 18 under, 11 under, I mean, also is it just another way to look at, like, okay, what's going on? Or when Dave Feldberg won Worlds in 2008, he was like literally like 98 or 99 under par, and that can look really weird. You know, that granted it was, 8 or 9 rounds at the time, but that looks a little weird on a scoreboard when it's like negative 90 or whatever it was. It was something absurd. So, all right, Sarah. Well, we're gonna let you call it a night. We can babble for like another 10 hours. But we are going to let you call it a night. We appreciate you joining us, and thank you for the response on short notice, as we've already talked about how busy you are. Oh, I've got ballet, and I'm in a symphony, and I got to go build a house for Habitat for You, whatever you do. I know you're
actually done both of those things.
Of course
too.
you have.
We know you have.
I know.
I was in a band for like 10 years, and I used to work for Habitat.
Wow, exactly. I wouldn't. Meanwhile, you're making bow ties for dogs and humans and everyone out in between, I'm sure. So, but seriously, we'll let you get to sleep since you're already in bed. I don't know if you're our first guest that's joined us.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but
It was just like the most comfortable option. I was already here.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with it.
no. As our cameraman would say, what's the problem? There's no problem here. I don't see a problem.
Chad.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your continued efforts, and also I'm sure your patience as well, as I know your other half, Sean, is out hustling around the country doing what he's doing for the PDGA, and we all love Sean and know he works hard as well. And so for everything you do to support disc golf in a multitude of ways, we very much appreciate it.
Thanks,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All
Good
right.
night.
Have a
Night.
good night. See ya. Again, check out the PDGA radio podcast. That's Steve Hill along with Sarah Lamberson. Yeah, good stuff.
They do. They cheat though.
They use by what? Using data? By doing research?
By doing
by
research,
caring?
having all those things. They got Steve Gans. They just pulse information.
Now, let me tell you. Now, as she was saying it, I was kind of smirking because Steve Gans, in his polite generosity, had offered more or less the same thing to us years ago and said, hey, if I could pull this and give you guys this if you were interested in talking about it. And you and I had some brief conversation about it at one point. But yeah, that was something that could be run by the PDGA, and so the fact that he spits it out to him and feeds it to him, I think is a great idea, and it's a great idea. It's a great
cool
piece for the segment, that because he's pulling from all the PDGA results that have unofficially been submitted from the weekend. So you could say, Chris Dickerson wasn't on our broadcast, but he was meanwhile shooting 1090 golf at some other event. I think that's a great asset. So Steve Gans, good stuff for sure. All right. I think we've covered pretty much everything except for a giveaway.
A giveaway. So last week we gave away.
Was it a disc member box?
Disc member box.
Okay.
You know what we're giving away this week?
I have.
We're not giving away that.
I have this we could give away, but unless you have something else.
We're giving away another disc member box.
Oh, yay. But you can buy these from me. Okay.
We can save that for next week.
Okay.
It is the coming up on the first of the month when Disc Member does their
Cue up Bone Thugs and Harmony. Let's get up.
What?
It's the first of the month. Get up.
I don't know that Bone Thugs and Harmony
Yeah,
song.
you do.
I don't know if I do.
Oh my gosh, don't start with me.
Crossroads is the only one.
No, you know this one. Trust me.
Whatever. So, Disc Member, I'm going to read right from the email here, is the monthly Disc Golf and Ultimate subscription where you get up to $50 or more of value each month for only $24.99. This month's package includes a Millennium M Quasar, a brand new disc with artwork by Benjamin Hopwood, a microfiber towel, a Disc Golf Store basket bottle opener, some sunglasses, a bumper sticker, and a free UDisc subscription.
What?
For the UDisc Pro.
UDisc Pro.
All for just $24.99. So if you enjoy all the wonderful things and want to help support us and Disc Member, please go ahead and become a Disc Member member. Disc Member member. It's hard to say. So Terry, why don't you fill just a little bit of time while I pull up the information because I'm not prepared.
All righty then. Well, I'm checking out the board. Sean had just asked, what molds do you have? If any of you follow me
Did you like the Galaxy?
Oh my gosh, where is the Galaxy? What did I throw? The Orbit? I think I posted on Facebook and said, Galaxy, if you're out there listening, I know you're a newer company to the scene. If you were interested in working on possibly a signature line T-Dog or Disc Golf Guy, Tear Bear, whatever, Orbit, I would entertain that phone call very much so. It felt very, I'll just be blunt about it. It felt like XD Classic Rock-ish, and I randomly just grabbed it out of the Pro Tour truck to go out and play a few holes at Idlewild this weekend. And this one was really beat up, so it was a little more understable probably than I think it would be out of the box, but it has a very small rim, and it felt great. And if they wanted to make a signature series disc for me. I've never had one, so we could start there.
Yeah, I think you've made your own at some point. Like you
I
got this
might
one.
have. But now I also have these. So if you follow me on Instagram, you saw me throw out the little tease here today. But this Tear Bear stamp disc that you've seen for the Disc Golf Guy, this helps support all of my overall vlogging and fundraiser efforts. And I've had Latitude 64 do some great stuff with me. I've had MVP. And then when I was in Discraft a few weeks ago, over there in Michigan, I was able to hand pick a whole bunch of blank discs. And then they grabbed even more of them, stamped them all, and then they arrived while I was at Idlewild. So now, today, I opened up one of the 2 boxes, again, of these Tear Bear Disc Golf Guy discs. So if you're interested, this is a swirly ESP Undertaker. Of course, I got buzzes, I got zones, I got some challengers, I got jawbreaker stuff. I got lots of random stuff. So tried to just get as much as I could. So if something like that interests you and you would like to support what I'm doing from a post-production point of view, reach out and I could probably make one of those happen. Okay.
All right. Awesome. I'm glad you did that. So this week we have 201 patrons.
Holy cow.
We picked up like 3 or 4 patrons over the past week. So I'd like to reach out to all of them and say thank you. I do want to also thank everybody that was a super chatter.
Our super chatters, which we didn't fully call out earlier in the night. I know we usually are really, really good about it.
Yeah, we were obviously pretty busy. So Mr. Shaggy, Jeremy Stewart, Rhett Left, OLCS, all right, Coltrane, and Chris Meyer. Thanks for doing your super chat.
And since he was the biggest one of the night, Rhett Left says, DG Guy, please give a shout out to Chad Chubb of Chubb Disc Golf, Andrew Cornwell, and Rob McNeil, who are at Am Worlds, all from the Indianapolis area. I will see you guys about this time tomorrow night. I think I arrive. So awesome. I probably won't see you tomorrow night, but maybe the day after. Just be on that lead card. I'll come find you. Get some highlights.
That's awesome. So I've sorted them all by last name tonight.
Heck yeah. We had 3 guests on the show tonight in Dana, Yuli, and Sarah Lamberson. So the magic number will be 3. We'll pull 3 numbers. There's the first one. There's the second one. And our winner tonight, number 186.
Number 186. So we're someone at the bottom of the alphabet. Always picked last. Always has to wait in the line behind all those A through M's.
Those jerks.
186, Vincent Wagner.
Vincent Wagner. That's a new name.
Congratulations, Vincent. Your patronage is very well appreciated. I'll reach out to you. I do not have the disc member box yet. It was shipped to me. It should hopefully be at my desk in the next couple days, and we will make sure that gets to you. Once again, remember, disc member from the disc store. The weekly subscription box. It is awesome to be able to get a brand new disc in general, but a new disc every month that, you maybe don't know if you need or not, but you're going to love it.
Other cool stuff. So having it shipped right to your door. So thank you to those guys for supporting us and therefore us turning around and being able to give it away to you guys. And here's a call out. If you have won at all in the last now a couple of weeks, every other week or so, I go and say, I should probably get all that stuff mailed out. And I go and check the emails. Johnny V always sends out an email to the winner and says, hey, you've won X, Y, or Z. Please confirm your address or confirm your shirt size, or would you like this disc or that disc, whatever the case might be. You'd be surprised how many people don't reply. And for whatever reasons, maybe it's gone into their spam folder or whatever the case might be. But for whatever reason, a lot of people don't reply. So please make sure you're looking out for that and or you reply back so we can confirm, I can get your address so I can turn around and ship it out. I feel like I have like 2 or 3 things that need to be shipped out that I have no either address or confirmation of address of for sure where you're at. So please make sure you get it out to us. Again, if I see any of you at Am Worlds, please make sure you come up and say hi. And if you're so inclined to work a camera, we might have that option available too. We got anything else tonight here, Johnny?
Not
I
really.
feel like it's been a good night.
It's been a pretty quick night.
We've had a lot of good info. We got a lot of good information. Dana brought Dana's stuff, a little stuttery, but we got it. Not him stuttering, but technology. Yuli had some great insights. Love him or hate the opinion one way or another, but he certainly has put a lot of thought into how everyone outdrives him and how much that hinders his game. And then Sarah getting her insights for the Pro Tours and the Idlewild event was all very good.
With the weather being what it was, I wanted to ask Sarah, actually, and get a chance if she was able to attend any of the extra games, the festival. But I don't know if it happened at all for anybody with the weather being the way it was.
No,
so.
I think she may have even said, she was just concerned about getting back and getting dry and relaxing, which the weekend is very, very taxing. And then you throw that nasty weather on, and it just makes it that much worse. So, damn it, Dan. Thanks. And Dan Harbeck, yes, that CE Rock is in the mail. Just wait for it and keep on waiting. Chris Young says, did last time, and I'll try again. Yeah, Chris, you might be the one that I do have the information for, but didn't mail it. I like to package them up and get 2 or 3 to go out at once, but by all means, feel free, reach out. I would rather have someone send me 6 emails to make sure that I'm on top of it rather than let it go and then get mad later because I didn't reply to your 1 email. So you're not bothering me. Please, if you guys need something, send it over.
You should just drive this one to Vince. He's in Mayville, Wisconsin.
Oh, my gosh. That's a great idea. He's just north of us by 45 minutes.
Just drive it to him.
That'd be cheaper than the $4 shipping. That's a good idea. All right, guys. Seriously, guys, gals, little ones, big ones, small ones, tall ones. Everyone, we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys tuning in to this last weekend's event as well over on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Putting out the live shows has become it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, of course, but it's more so it's a lot of fun. And we hope that excitement continues to grow. And as the season unfolds, I think it'll just continue to
get bigger. I love that we have. I was kind of thinking this with the post-production stuff and us. I love that we have the flexibility that when Macbeth is lighting it up, we can pull a cameraman off and throw him on the second card and be able to give a lot of that really nice full story of the event. We're not kind of constricted, like Yuli was saying when he was doing commentary for Jomez. They're because there's someone on the second card, they're stuck, so to speak, on their first card covering it, and the second card is where the story's at.
Yeah.
So we are able to split it up. And someone had said, "Well, what if there's a third card?" And I'm like, "Then we skip the second card and we send our guy to the third card." It's really cool that we have the flexibility to do that, and I'm excited for all sorts of future stuff.
Our audio and video may not be as crisp and clear as what you find obviously in post-production, and that's just a technology and money thing. But we give it to you live, and we'll be able to give you it as the story unfolds, and that is very exciting because that's how sports are done, and we're glad to be part of that. So, all right, guys, we're gonna again close it. Thank you guys, all of you, each and every one of you. We really appreciate it. Look forward to, next week. Maybe next week we'll have an AM Worlds winner or two that could possibly join us, seeing how that will shake out. I'll be excited to catch up with whoever that is.
If it's Luke, I'll make sure not to show up.
But one way or another, we'll find a way to bring you some more of that excitement. And then the week after that, we've got Next Gen and Ledgestone and then some. We keeps on rolling. So for Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's podcast after show 205. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.